Chapter 186. Unintentionally planted willows, and the willows grew. This was the best portrayal of Lin Feng now. He did not go to Mount Hua to join in the fun, but instead, he obtained the third lightning pearl. Others might not know the power of this holy treasure, but Lin Feng knew it very well. The energy-type holy treasure was almost tailor-made for him. Spiritual power, spiritual aura, mental expanse, and physique. It was strengthened in all aspects and improved in all aspects. Although it was useful for a Sea King level expert, it was like giving 10 gold coins to a rich person in Jiaoyang district and 10 gold coins to a commoner in the civilian district. The difference was huge. Let's go. Lin Feng did not delay. No one knew what would happen in the next second. If someone found out that he had taken 2 lightning pearls for himself, Lin Feng smiled bitterly and shook his head. Now, he was already the target of public criticism. Whoosh! Lin Feng flew through the air. None. Wrong. Stepping on the flying sword, his flying speed was no less than Jian Chao's. In fact, he had planned to go to Mount Taibai to train. He only stopped at the border where there were few people to test the holy treasure's power. Who would have thought that he would stay here for almost a month? He was lucky to have encountered the birth of the third lightning pearl. Some things were fated. Mount Taibai, the largest main mountain range in Qinling. It was majestic and magnificent. Large areas of granite and mountain ranges overlapped. This place was 10 times bigger than Mount Hua. There were majestic peaks, deep valleys, clear rivers and lakes, and savage-level monsters everywhere. They were the overlords of Mount Taibai. There were 12 Sea King-level monsters in Qinling. Mount Taibai had 8 of them. There are not many people. Lin Feng traveled on his flying sword. He did not see many experts. Just in time, Lin Feng smiled faintly. As long as it was not someone with ulterior motives, they would not notice his identity. A human skin mask was a must-have when going out. Compared to the Sea King-level monster in Mount Hua, Mount Taibai was undoubtedly more threatening. But he did not plan to enter Mount Taibai for now. Like Mount Hua, he wandered around the surrounding area. His real target was the high-level savage wasteland monsters. Let's begin. Lin Feng sharpened his knife. Compared to the boring practice in the cultivation room, actual combat was much more interesting. More and more people gathered on Mount Hua. However, no one knew that the third lightning pearl had been born not long ago. It was located at the border of the 2 mountain ranges where few people would go. The phenomenon only lasted for a few minutes. In addition, the sky just happened to be turning dark, so everything passed naturally. Right at this moment, a major event that shook ancient Huaxia took place. Wu Tong was dead. It was normal for mid-level savage experts to die. Even the fall of a Sea King-level powerhouse was not enough to cause a huge commotion. But Black Copper was very special. He was found in the cultivation room. Apart from his corpse, he was also found. There was also a ball of light that was shining faintly. Holy treasure, lightning pearl. His meridians were completely severed. His internal organs were shattered, and his bodily functions were damaged. Wu Tong's death diagnosis quickly came out. Everyone was shocked. It was the first time. It was said that energy-type sage treasures could even kill people. And it was a mid-level savage expert. After all, even if the energy was too strong, one could absorb it slowly and give up at most. It would not kill him. You scared me to death. Brother Lin. Xiaoling's tear-stained face was pitiful. Don't worry. Lin Feng's heart warmed. He said softly, I have completely absorbed the first lightning pearl. In fact, the energy of a lightning pearl has hundreds of advantages and no disadvantages. But I'm not sure about the specific tolerance. The most dangerous thing is that the power of lightning in the lightning pearl will directly temper the whole body. A mid-level savage expert's body is not strong enough. According to my estimation, it needs at least a Sea King level body. Lin Feng's face was serious. If Ling did not tell him, he would not know that the lucky guy who got the second lightning pearl was so lucky that he died. In comparison, his luck was not bad. Sea King level? Ling covered her mouth and exclaimed, I still don't know when the power of lightning will be triggered. Lin Feng nodded. What is certain is that the lightning pearl can only be absorbed by opening the run and dew meridians. Once the lightning pearl touches the center, the power of lightning will be immediately activated. As for whether the physical strength will be activated, it remains to be seen. I will try again next time. Try again. Linger was surprised. Brother Lin, didn't you just say that you have finished absorbing the first lightning pearl? Lin Feng smiled and took out another lightning pearl. He waved it and said, I picked up another 2 days ago. Er's beautiful eyes widened. She covered her mouth in disbelief. The entire ancient Huaxia was shocked by the lightning pearls. They fought over the lightning pearl that had little energy left. But Brother Lin took out a brand new one as if he was performing a magic trick. Is it true? Brother Lin, this is... Xiaoling's beautiful face was completely shocked. The one on October 10th. Lin Feng smiled and said, they're all guarding Mount Hua and missed the opportunity. No one knows about this except you, Linger. Xiaoling bit her cherry lips. Her delicate face was full of joy. This was a form of trust. Suddenly, by the way, Brother Lin, you have to be careful. Xiaoling seemed to think of something and said worriedly, I heard from my father that Manla seems to be saying he will teach you a lesson. Don't worry about him. Lin Feng shook his head. He had already guessed that he would take action after the meeting at the heaven level. This man was narrow-minded and vengeful. But, teach me a lesson? Lin Feng smiled. He was not strong enough. Time flew by. For the experts guarding Mount Hua, every minute and second was torture. But for Lin Feng, time passed in the blink of an eye. Mountain of knives and sea of flames. Lin Feng brandished his knife. There were more than 20 saber auras all over the mountain, and each of them gave off the light of flames. The area in front of Tai Bai Mountain seemed to be enveloped in flames, and the savage monsters let out pained cries. Lin Feng stood with his saber in hand, and his eyes were bright. Boom! The knife energy completely erupted. The fifth move of the flaming knife technique, the first grade of the earth rank, Mountain of Knives and Sea of Flames. Knife intent proficiency. Collecting materials from savage monsters. Lin Feng would not waste it. After all, he still owed the little witch doctor a lot of money. Besides, the materials from savage monsters were quite expensive. It's almost time for the real battle. I'll go back and practice for a night. Tomorrow, fighting again. He smiled faintly. Lin Feng left in a flash. Capsule Alloy House. Pa! The crystal table reflected light and gathered into a video projection. It was a map of the entire Qinling Mountains, including Mount Hua, Mount Taibai, and Mount Zhongnan. For ordinary warriors, the map of savage areas was equivalent to a treasure. It was extremely difficult to obtain, but for the Elemental Business Alliance, it couldn't be easier. The first one is here. The second one is here. The third one is here. Lin Feng made marks on the big map. His eyes were fixed on the map. 3 red dots formed a slight arc from east to west. It seemed to contain some rules. Compared to other forces, Lin Feng clearly knew the appearance, time, and location of the third Thunderbolt Ball. This information was very important. If I'm not wrong, then the landing point of the fourth Thunderbolt Ball, it's in this area? Lin Feng tapped his finger lightly. At the foot of Mount Taibai, a huge area was suddenly circled. After tomorrow, the secret of the Thunderbolt Ball will be difficult to hide. I'm afraid this is something I can get. The last one. Lin Feng's eyes sparkled. On the second day of August, Xiao Xiao felt that her back finally straightened a little, but she was so sleepy. Chapter 187. Chapter 185. The third type of Holy Energy Beijing Science Research Institute. Large supercomputers, machines, and instruments filled the entire Scientific Research Institute. Here, Huaxia scientists researched all kinds of energy technology, deduced elemental martial arts, and created laser particle weapons. All the geniuses and elites of ancient Huaxia were gathered here. Most of the scientists here had activated their innate talents and were far more intelligent than ordinary people. There's a result. A black-haired young man clenched his fists and said excitedly. In front of him was a huge silver-white machine. There were more than 10 auxiliary devices around it, and they worked together with the 2 super brains on his left and right. At this moment, a series of digital images appeared on the screen. It was the lightning bead. Yeah, do you have to be so excited? That's right. Isn't it just an ordinary holy treasure? Look at how happy you are. The scientists laughed. To them, the research value of ordinary holy treasures was just SOSO. It was more of a reference to analyze the mysteries within. However, to create holy treasures, the current technology was still insufficient. No, it's different. The young man, Wang Jie, said excitedly. In this holy treasure, other than the holy power and holy chi that we know of, there's a third type of holy energy. What? All the scientists stopped what they were doing, their eyes filled with shock. Are you serious? A man pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose and said seriously, yes, a third type of saint energy has never appeared before. Wang Jie's eyes blazed as he clenched his fists. If I'm not wrong, this third type of holy energy can help more than half of the experts who are stuck at the bottleneck of the savage tier, or even the Sea King tier. Break through the shackles. Wang Jie's voice was filled with surprise and excitement. The scientist's breathing quickened. What did this mean? Currently, in a world where spiritual energy was abundant, the 7 major countries were fighting both openly and covertly. Elemental beasts were breeding all over the wilderness and the sea, and there were many dangers. Everyone below the savage grade was just an ant. The current technological weapons could kill martial artists below the savage grade, but it was difficult to kill martial artists above the savage grade. This was especially true for Sea King level powerhouses, who were even above the power of technology. A legend ranker. It was already very difficult to evolve from savage grade to Sea King grade. Advancing from the Sea King rank to the legend rank was even more difficult. Ancient Huaxia only had 2 of the top 10 most powerful cultivators in the world. That was why ancient Huaxia could only swallow their pride and choose to cooperate with the dragon-killing island owner. But now, even if it's a primary energy type holy treasure, it's still a holy treasure. It's also impossible for a Sea King to break through the shackles, a scientist with disheveled hair muttered. This must be kept a secret. A middle-aged man stood up, his eyes sparkling. Perhaps this is a great opportunity for our ancient China to soar and become the leader of the 7 great countries. Xiao Jie, come with me to see the dean. Yes. Wang Jie's face glowed. In the Taibai Mountain area, with Taibai Mountain as the center, savage-level monsters could be seen everywhere within a 100-mile radius. Swish! Lin Feng rode on his flying sword and sped forward. Wherever he went, the savage monsters would avoid him and growl. Their eyes were filled with hostility, but they did not attack. The law of the jungle. The strong preyed on the weak. Compared to humans, elemental beasts had stronger senses. According to the map, it should be in this area. Lin Feng's gaze landed on a tall mountain peak in the distance that looked like a swordfish. Go there. Lin Feng did not hesitate. Although the Swordfish Mountain was not in the center of the area he marked out, it was the highest point. Standing there, he could see the furthest and clearest. There aren't many savage monsters, but there are more than 10. Unfortunately, if the Thunder Pearl fell 30 miles further in, my chances of getting it would be higher. Fortunately, most of the strong ones are gathered in Mount Hua. Here, there were no Sea King level experts. Lin Feng flew past with a slight smile on his face. Just this point alone was enough for him to be in this region. He was the strongest one in this area. Swordfish Mountain Peak. Chi, a blood-red python as thick as an iron pillar spat out a thick poisonous mist. It roared as it came. It was the master of this mountain peak. It was a high-level savage monster, the blood-young poisonous mist python. Raging fire thunder. A wild and explosive slash, along with a dense fire and lightning, directly broke through the poisonous fog. The blood-young, poisonous mist python's eyes were fierce, but its body, which it was proud of, could not withstand a single blow. With a chi sound, it was cut in half and poisonous blood spurted out. Hiss! The blood-young, poisonous mist python struggled violently in pain. Die! Lin Feng's lightning-fast saber directly chopped off the blood-young, poison mist python's head. Bang! The huge snake could no longer move. The poisonous mist and poisonous blood were everywhere, but they could not get close to Lin Feng. His bright eyes released spiritual power, and an invisible force blocked them. Looking at the blood-young poisonous mist python, Lin Feng frowned slightly. He was a little worried. There were too many elemental beasts. The number of savage elemental beasts was more than 100 times that of human beings. There were 8 Sea King-level elemental beasts in the Taibai Mountain area, 12 in the Qinling Mountains, and more than 100 in ancient Huaxia. The number of elemental beasts in the whole world was unimaginable. What would it be like in the sea area, which was more boundless than the savage lands? Over there, I'm afraid that even Sea Kings are ordinary. Lin Feng was shocked. The stronger one was, the more anxious one would be. It was a dangerous feeling, just like when his mother and sister were in the Sunset Martial Arts Club. At present, it seemed safe, but it was not. Fortunately, the sea monsters should not be able to leave the sea. Lin Feng stood on the peak of the Swordfish Mountain and looked down at the entire area. He felt uneasy. Humans became the masters of Earth in the new generation. But what about before that? The masters of Earth in the Mesozoic era were dinosaurs. The Paleozoic era was the era of the sea. Lin Feng was very familiar with history. During his time in the Qinling Mountains, not only did his strength increase, but it also broadened his horizons. After tempering himself in the A-class savage lands, he realized how vast the world was. It was far beyond his imagination. In the whole world, there were 108 A-class savage lands like the Qinling Mountains. For the time being, there is no need to think too much. The current me can't even save my big brother. Mother and sister are still in a precarious situation. I need more strength. Lin Feng's eyes were firm and persistent, just like his blade. The strongest clan in ancient Huaxia, the Shang dynasty, was like a mountain pressing down on his head. Even now, he was still unable to breathe. Holding the Black Dragon Warblade, Lin Feng stood on the peak of the mountain. His back was lonely and unyielding as he practiced his blade strike after blade strike. He needed to work harder and harder. Time slowly passed. It was past noon, and the sun was shining brightly. Right at this moment, the familiar black clouds covered the sky. Once again, disaster appeared. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly as he looked into the distance. Soon, rumbling sounds of thunder could be heard. Whoosh! The fourth lightning pearl broke through the sky. Chapter 188. What's that? A vision. Wow, it can't be a holy treasure? Taibai Mountain area. The savage-level powerhouses were stunned. They did not want to fight for the holy treasure. After all, the whole of Mount Hua was overcrowded. The 4 giants were rampant, and the chances of getting the holy treasure were slim. Even if they got it, they had to be like the lucky guy before and not be discovered. Otherwise, they would have to hide like Lin Feng and not know when they could come out. A human skin mask? It was useless. How many savage-level powerhouses could there be in the whole Huaxia? Their body shape, moves, and mental skills would be exposed once they fought. They could be found out if they wanted to. Instead of wasting time, it was better to cultivate. But this time, the Thunder Pearl was unearthed in the Taibai Mountain area. Quick, go get it. Damn, I'm going to be rich. The savage-level powerhouse's eyes turned red. Swordfish Mountain Peak. Whoosh! Lin Feng swooped down from the sky. He was much faster than the ordinary savage-level powerhouses. Standing on the peak, he could clearly determine the landing point of the Thunder Pearl. The reason why he was discovered by Yi Sun the first time was because he wasted too much time looking for the Thunder Pearl. It's really in this area. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was only a short distance away from the center point he predicted. It will take about 2 minutes. Good luck. Lin Feng released his spiritual power. The flying sword made a violent sound as it broke through the air. This time, it was probably the only thing he could get. The last thunderbolt bead. It's clearly here. Yes, it fell to this position. Damn it. It can't be that someone beat me to it, right? 3 well-built men with long beards were searching everywhere. They were 2 meters tall and had bulging muscles all over their bodies. Their appearances were very similar. One look, and one could tell that they were 3 brothers. They were undoubtedly the luckiest, as they were the closest to where the Thunder Pearl was unearthed. But God seemed to be playing a joke on them. They saw the Thunder Pearl fall, but it was gone when they arrived. It was thought-provoking. "Big brother, look. Flying sword. Who's here?" The three bearded men raised their heads and looked over, their faces filled with nervousness. "Someone come." It was Lin Feng. "As expected. Am I late?" Lin Feng frowned. Looking down, there was not a single spot of light in the area where the lightning bead was supposed to land. Other than the three bearded men, there were no other savage-level powerhouses. It seemed that the lightning pearl had been snatched away by the three of them. "No," Lin Feng immediately denied. The three of them only glanced at him with hostility in their eyes, but they quickly looked around again. What were they looking for? Lightning pearls. Lin Feng understood. Whoosh! The flying sword sped through the area like a gust of wind, but it didn't see any lightning pearls anywhere it passed. Could it be that it was snatched by other savage-level powerhouses before the three bearded men? Or Pa? Lin Feng closed his eyes and concentrated. The fourth stage's spiritual power was abnormally strong. In terms of sensing ability, spiritual qi was far inferior. In terms of sensing energy and sensing things around him, Lin Feng's expression turned solemn. Suddenly, he turned his head with a flash of light in his eyes. Flying sword, he might be Lin Feng. Quick, third brother, follow him. Second brother, report to the marshal. We found Lin Feng. There weren't many who used flying swords. Ancient martial artists had awakened their innate talents. There were even fewer of them. There were only 3 in total, and Jian Chou was dead. A young Lin Feng appeared. Even though he was wearing a human skin mask, one could guess his identity by looking at his body and skin. Swoosh! The flying sword flew past. Lin Feng jumped down from the sky and landed on a piece of granite. He looked ahead with sparkling eyes. It was a purple-white fox-type monster that emitted a demonic aura. Its eyes had a cunning look unique to humans. Its tail emitted a faint white light, and its back was covered with a layer of faint white crystals. Looking at its abdomen, there was a slight bulge. "It's you." Lin Feng smiled. Clang! The black dragon battle blade appeared in his hand. Behind Lin Feng, the immovable Wisdom King stood tall. I didn't expect that I would be able to feel the power of thunder and lightning from so far away. Lin Feng thought to himself. The surging spirit energy condensed into a flaming blade, and the strong blade intent exploded with the blade energy. Raging fire thunder. Chi! The flames were like thunder, wild and fierce. The evil heart demon fox fled quickly. Its tail emitted a dense laser light, but it was instantly enveloped by the flaming blade light. The shrill screams were ear-piercing, and it was difficult to escape death. The raging flames burned its body, and the lightning blade energy killed the evil heart demon fox with one slash. Bang! The evil heart demon fox fell to the ground. In the flames, one could see a lightning bead shining faintly, lying there quietly. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. It was very smart, but sometimes too smart. It might not be a good thing. Holy treasure? The long-bearded man looked into the distance, dumbfounded. Lin Feng took out the lightning bead from the body of the evil heart demon fox and looked at the long-bearded man in the distance. He saw the major general insignia on the man's shoulder. Instantly, he jumped on the flying sword and sped away. Third brother. Third brother. The other 2 long-bearded men arrived soon after. Big brother, the holy treasure, the lightning bead, has been taken by Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't kill them. If they were from a dragon slaughter island or the Yi family, he wouldn't hesitate. But they were just ordinary savage-level experts he had never met before. He had no enmity with them. If it wasn't necessary, he wouldn't kill them, especially when they were a soldier. The army was the guardian of the country. Wang Wang and Ice Rose were both soldiers. Lin Feng had a good impression of the army. That was because the blood of China flowed in his body. Anyway, I am a wanted man. It doesn't matter. Lin Feng smiled. It didn't matter if there was one more person. Let them be. Furthermore, the news of this lightning pearl being unearthed had probably already spread from 1 person to 10, and from 10 to 100. Very soon, everyone would know about it. I'm going to be the center of attention again. Looks like I can't show my face for a while. Lin Feng felt helpless. Capsule Alloy House. Swoosh, 4 red dots were clearly marked on the map on the crystal table. Lin Feng knew better than anyone about the lightning bead. The 3rd lightning bead was obtained purely by luck. But the 4th one was an accurate calculation and judgment. Lin Feng looked at the map with a burning gaze. He tapped lightly with his finger and marked out an area. In 13 days, the 5th lightning bead will be unearthed here, Lin Feng said. The range of the red that was less than 1/10 of the previous one. In terms of probability, it was already very accurate. What a pity. I have to give it up. Lin Feng smiled. The lightning bead was indeed precious. But other than the 3rd one, the locations of the 1st, 2nd, and 4th beads were all exposed. If one wanted to, they would be able to deduce the location of the 5th one. Although it might only be an approximate location, it was enough to prevent him from fighting for it. After all, he was now the target of public criticism. Cultivate in peace. With my current strength, I can only defeat Yi Sun. I have yet to reach the Sea King level. Turning off the crystal table, Lin Feng walked to the cultivation room. Chapter 189. Lin Feng. This name, which had just died down, became a hot topic again. Everyone knew about it. What kind of luck does this kid have? He got another Thunder Pearl. I'm so jealous. Oh, what's the use? He's just a savage level master. How can he fight against the big forces? He got 2 of them at once. As long as he sticks his head out, he'll be caught by the 5 giants. Whether he lives or dies. I'm afraid it's not up to him to decide. Capital City, Science Research Institute. Elder One. It was a man in a Zhongshan suit with a serious gaze. He had a steel-like body and an iron-blooded military temperament, very similar to Marshal Hao Taijun. After going through life and death battles, he grew from an ordinary soldier to one of the 2 marshals of ancient Huaxia. Marshal Red Dragon, Zhou Jingyi. On his shoulder, there was a unique and only military rank, a Red Dragon. Justice is here. Sit. It was an old man with a smiling face. His hair was already gray, but he had an extraordinary status in ancient Huaxia. The 2 marshals of the military were all respectful to him. The old man was the director of the Science Research Institute. Mo, one of the 3 top scientists in the world. Scientists were divided into 4 levels: rookie scientists, elite scientists, outstanding scientists, and top scientists. For example, Jie, who was standing next to Mo, was a rookie scientist who had just stepped into this field. Okay. Zhou Jingyi nodded and sat down. With his back straight, Zhou Jingyi's eyes were bright. What's the matter, Mr. Wen? Mo nodded. The research on the Thunder Pearl sent by the military has already produced results. Zhou Jingyi's eyes lit up. What did you find? It was just an ordinary holy treasure. Mr. Wen wouldn't let him come in person. Mo sipped his tea and glanced at Jie beside him. He smiled and said, You tell me, Jie. Yes, Mr. Wen. Jie was a little excited. He swallowed his saliva. Jie immediately said, It's like this, Marshal. This Thunder Pearl is an energy-type holy treasure. It has a separate holy power and holy chi that can be absorbed by the Talent Soul and the Earth Soul. Which level? Zhou Jingyi interrupted. Ordinary. Both types of holy energy are ordinary, Jie replied. Zhou Jingyi nodded. Energy type, normal level, is useful for savage-level experts. However, it was of little use to Sea King-level powerhouses. Also, according to the description of the data, the lightning bead originally contained natural energy. Jie continued. The natural energy of thunder and lightning is estimated to be at the beginning of the sacred level. The body of an ancient martial artist must be at least at the Sea King level to withstand it. Wu Tong, what a pity. Zhou Jingyi sighed. Wu Tong was a lieutenant general. Zhou Jingyi looked at Jie. Therefore, the uniqueness of this lightning pearl is the 3rd holy energy. Jie's eyes lit up. It's different from holy power and holy chi. It's the holy energy that has never appeared in any of the known holy treasures. I don't know its other uses, but if it exists alone, it can enhance the soul of wisdom. Bang! Zhou Jingyi stood up, and the chair fell over. Wisdom spirit. Zhou Jingyi's steel-like face finally changed color. Humans. 3 great souls. The wisdom spirit, the earth spirit, and the talent spirit. The wisdom soul was the first to awaken among humans. The moment humans were born, their wisdom soul reached 25%. In terms of the mind expanse, it was 5%. Then it slowly grew. Humans didn't pay much attention to the wisdom soul that had been awakened since the beginning. In comparison, they paid more attention to the earth spirit and the talent spirit than the wisdom soul, until they became stronger and stronger. Only then did the ancient martial artists realize the importance of the wisdom soul. No one knew how to enhance the wisdom soul. No one knew where it was in the body. It was like a mystery. It was completely different from other souls. The earth spirit and the talent spirit could be cultivated and improved step by step. But the wisdom soul, scientists all over the world couldn't do anything about it. Was the wisdom soul not important? Indeed, the initial stage of cultivation wasn't important because the wisdom soul could easily grow to the 3rd stage of 40%. It could even reach the 4th stage of 50%. But what about the 5th stage? Many high-level martial artists were stuck at the mind expanse because of the wisdom soul. Many high-level savage warriors were stuck because of the wisdom soul. Even high-level sea kings were stuck because of the wisdom soul. And now, the holy energy that could enhance the wisdom soul had appeared. How could Zhou Jingyi not be excited? What level? Zhou Jingyi's voice was trembling. Normal level. It should be the same amount as holy power and holy qi. He voice sounded regretful. If it was just the primary level, it was very likely that a high-level sea king could break through the shackles and become a legendary legend-level expert. Zhou Jingyi clenched his fist, his eyes shining. It's already very good. At least it can increase the military strength by 1 or 2 sea king level experts. Wenemo smiled. If we're lucky, 3 or 4 is not impossible. Zhou Jingyi gave a rare smile. Thank you, Elder One. Everyone laughed heartily. This is very important to ancient Huaxia. Zhou Jingyi stood up and cupped his hands. Thank you, Elder One and Little Brother. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Okay. Everyone said goodbye. Capsule Alloy House. Lin Feng didn't move out of the Taibai mountain area. He was at ease in the lake cave and didn't care about the Taibai mountain area at all. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. No one would think that he was still in the Taibai mountain area. Lin Feng was at ease. There was nothing he needed to do now. There was only one thing. Practice. Keep on cultivating, keep on getting stronger, until he could safely appear in front of everyone and protect himself. Then first, he must have the absolute strength of a Sea King level. Titanium power. Lin Feng controlled the titanium power and firmly controlled it, forming a huge gravity zone with himself as the center. He had completely mastered the first level of the super heavy titanium domain, and the second level needed to increase the power of the super heavy titanium domain by 10 times. It needed the condensation of the titanium power. Compared to the 4th level, the 5th level was a new step. The control of the power tended to be fine, and the control of the titanium power was more than 10 times higher than before. It was difficult. For Lin Feng, it was a new challenge. The cultivation of a gene warrior. I must succeed. Lin Feng's eyes were firm and persistent, with a hint of passion and excitement. The first day, failure. The second day, failure again. The third day, Lin Feng continued to fight despite repeated defeats. He slowly explored and mastered the method to enhance the control of the titanium power. Compared to 3 days ago, there was no doubt that he had improved a lot. However, to reach the 6th level of condensation, it would take a long time. Just like the improvement of the saber technique, everything couldn't be done overnight. It was just that people with good talent spent less time, and people with poor talent spent more time. And Lin Feng, maybe there's a shortcut. Lin Feng's eyes were shining. Chapter 190. Super Heavy Titanium Domain. Lin Feng shouted. Lin Feng clenched his fists, and his face was solemn. The surrounding rumbled as if it was collapsing. The terrifying pressure continued to rise, and the hemispherical area was faintly visible, flashing with titanium power, which was not present in the first level. Almost instantly, the heavy pressure of the super-heavy titanium domain doubled. 4 times. 5 times. Boom! The titanium power flashed. Huh! Lin Feng clenched his teeth. At this time, his control of titanium power had reached the limit. The blue veins on his arms were exposed, and the increase from 1 time to 5 times was more due to the upgrade of the titanium heart to the 4th level. Of course, 3 days of groping and practice also had many effects. However, this was not a day's work after all. Spiritual power. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and an invisible force covered his whole body. His whole body seemed to have become an army, and the talent soul in the sea of consciousness was the commander of the army. The surging spiritual power flowed through his whole body, and in an instant, the titanium power was compressed and condensed. The gravity pressure formed by the super-heavy titanium domain had stopped, but in an instant, pung, pung, pung. The power was like 1,000 caddies, and the titanium power flashed. 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. Lin Feng let out a roar as his strength increased. Boom! The entire hemispherical air shield suddenly flashed. The crystalline light of titanium power flickered and condensed, forming a sealed space. The titanium power let out a light, sizzling sound as it was tightly combined. It was completely different from the first level. This was a stable regional space. After forming, there was no need for special control. Like a building being built, the entire super-heavy titanium domain was a perfect whole. So strong. Lin Feng smiled in relief. The super-heavy titanium domain, although not the traditional electromagnetic element power, only has the power of 3 domains, but it should not be underestimated. Level Elemental Martial Art. 2nd level. Elemental Power Control. 6th level. Condense. Although it was barely achieved with the help of spiritual power, at least it was achieved, and the result was no different. In any case, Lin Feng's current spiritual power had no other use for the time being besides controlling the flying sword. Since that was the case, it might not be a bad thing to use it rationally. Most importantly, the elemental power had reached condensation, which meant that he could officially start training. This was the current limit of elemental technology. Level Elemental Martial Arts. Titanium Gray Body. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. 1st level Physical Fitness. His overall strength would increase by 50%. It was different from the traditional strengthening system. For example, the offensive manganese power increased strength in the form of crystallization and was considered an external force. However, the titanium gray body was an internal eruption. This was a very terrifying comprehensive increase because it could be stacked twice or even thrice. It was the most direct way to strengthen the body. With the super-heavy titanium domain, absolutely heaven-defying. Lin Feng was very clear. Against an ancient martial artist with the same physical condition, the super-heavy titanium domain and titanium gray body were enough to make the opponent collapse. However, it was not easy to cultivate a martial art of the same level. This was especially true when the conditions for cultivation were insufficient. There was no top-notch superbrain here, and the consumption of the titanium power was real. Every time it was consumed, he had to soak in the gene fluid to recover. However, he would inevitably face various problems during cultivation. This situation, in fact, it was very ordinary. After all, he could cultivate while soaking in the gene fluid. It was not a waste of time. 9 Dragon Sutra. 5th level. Lin Feng flipped through the 2nd volume of the 9 Dragon Sutra. The power of the 9 Dragon Sutra was beyond doubt. As he came into contact with more and more heart techniques, he clearly knew the power of the 9 Dragon Sutra. The first 3 levels were more powerful than the previous level. At the 4th level, it had already surpassed the limit of the Earth stage. Lesser Phaseless Method, Top-Grade Earth Stage, 5th level. Among the Elemental Commerce Alliance's 3 top-grade Earth Stage heart techniques, the best one. The 5th level's eruption of heaven and earth energy was 80% of the Heaven Stage Heart Techniques base. The eruption of Spirit Chi was 150% of the Heaven Stage Heart Techniques base. But the Nine Dragons Sutra, the fourth level's eruption of Heaven and Earth energy, was 0% of the Heaven Stage Heart Techniques base. The eruption of Spirit Chi was 600% of the Heaven Stage Heart Techniques base. This was the absolute gap. After cultivating to the fifth level, it is comparable to the mid-grade Heaven Stage. The strength is about 40 to 50 times the base of the Heaven Stage Heart Techniques base. It is comparable to a Sea King level expert. Lin Feng closed his eyes. Sitting cross-legged in the Super G nutrition cabin, his heart was as solid as one. The greater the power, the harder it was to cultivate. Elemental Commerce Alliance. A high-level meeting was held again. However, this time, there were only 6 business alliance leaders present at the meeting. What the hell is going on? Brahmin Mamla's voice was like rust, hoarse, and unpleasant. His pair of cold eyes seemed to be able to kill. Tell me the location of Lin Feng, or tell him to come see me. It's been 10 days. Who can give me an answer? His stiff Chinese was mixed with strong anger. The eyes of the Indian Sea King level expert, who was enshrined by the Elemental Commerce Alliance, were spitting fire. The 6 business alliance leaders, Guyong, Maho, Wan Ningshi, Gu Demo, Yin Qing, and Su Ku, looked at each other with a dignified expression. Ever since he learned that Lin Feng had obtained another Thunderbolt bead, Mamla was like a roaring and hungry lion, completely crazy. They also wanted to find Lin Feng, but the messages they sent to Lin Feng were like stones sinking into the sea. Mamla, you don't have to do this. We will do our best to help you get the next Thunderbolt bead, Yin Qing said seriously. Mamla snorted. You can't even do a small thing. Everyone's expression was ugly. Mamla glanced at the crowd and said angrily, Don't talk nonsense with me. I'll say it again, find Lin Feng, no matter what means you use. By the way, doesn't he have a family? Catch his mother. I don't believe that the little bastard won't show up. How can we do this? Absolutely not. This is too much. The business alliance leaders were furious. It's up to you. Mamla snorted and said coldly, If you don't want to be the bad guy, then I'll be the bad guy. If you dare to stop me, don't blame me for being heartless. Mamla taunted arrogantly. Remember, it's the Elemental Business Alliance who invited me here. Once I leave the Elemental Business Alliance, you'll be done for. After that, Mamla's figure disappeared, leaving behind a group of trade alliance leaders with ugly expressions and gnashing teeth. What should we do? Gu Demo asked anxiously. This Mamla is too much. Suku shook his head. He's a fish on the chopping block. Yin Qing sighed. If our 2 business alliance leaders were not dead, how could we allow the Indians to strut around here? No matter what, let's find Lin Feng first. Yes, Mamla is vicious. He will do anything if he's pushed too far. So, Chapter 191, Taibai Mountain, Dragon-Killing Island Station. The Superbrain's precise calculations rendered the entire Qinling region in 3D. As one of the 5 giants of ancient Huaxia, Dragon-Killing Island naturally had the entire map of Qinling. At this moment, a technician from Dragon-Killing Island was explaining carefully. 3 red dots appeared on the screen. According to the available information, based on the 3 lightning pearls, the 4th one should be in this region. The technician pointed to a blue circle on the screen. The probability is 60%. Then, he pointed to the border between Taibai Mountain and Huashan. The green circle flashed. The probability is 30% here. In addition, the technician pointed to 10 yellow circles. These are the other possibilities calculated by the super brain. 10%. Zikuei stood quietly. His devilish face was extremely handsome. Behind him, Xing Ming and the other savage-level powerhouses stood respectfully. They listened attentively and stared at the screen. So, the 5th lightning pearl will be unearthed at this location? Zikuei stared at the blue circle. The area covered by the blue circle was more than 10 times larger than what Lin Feng had determined. You can say that. The technician did not dare to look at Zikuei, but this is only based on the location of the 3 lightning pearls. If there is a fourth or fifth one, the calculation will be 10 times or even 100 times more complicated. Okay, Zikuei said softly. If the calculation is wrong, you might lose your head. His sharp eyes were cold and vicious. As the young master of Dragon Killing Island, this was the first time Zikuei was in charge of a mission. If he failed, he would lose face. Yes, the technician replied in a trembling voice. It was not just Dragon Killing Island. The military, the First Bank of China, the 8 dominant families, and the 3 major dojos were all making precise calculations and arrangements. As more lightning pearls were unearthed, the more clues there were, the more obvious the pattern was. The secret was being revealed bit by bit. This night, it was destined to be a sleepless night. November 17th. Another 13 days had passed since the 4th lightning pearl was unearthed. Phew! Lin Feng exhaled softly and stood up from the super gene nourishment cabin. The gene fluid had been used up. The titanium power in his body was completely saturated. Now that he could continue cultivating his titanium gray body, Lin Feng walked out of the cultivation room after stretching his body. The capsule alloy house wasn't big. Glancing at the time on the crystal watch, Lin Feng took out the compressed biscuits. The 5th lightning bead. Lin Feng smiled. Now, Tai Bai Mountain should be very lively. Lin Feng was eating hardtack and drinking water. He didn't covet the lightning pearls too much. He had already absorbed all the lightning energy in the 3 lightning pearls. Although the tempering effect of the 2nd and 3rd pills had decreased by a lot, it still made his body very strong. Previously, he had estimated that he would need a titanium gray body to reach the Sea King grade. But now, even the weakest among them was at the level of the Sea King. Titanium gray body. I have yet to successfully cultivate it. The 5th level of the 9 Dragon Sutra has just been successfully used for the first time. Lin Feng was very calm. Cultivation was all about taking one step at a time. During this period, they would definitely encounter many difficulties. Without the help of a super brain, the difficulty of cultivating the titanium grade body was far more difficult than normal. As for the 5th level of the 9 Dragon Sutra, just the 4th level alone took him 3 days to successfully use it for the first time. It took him a full 7 days to barely master it. The 5th level was far more difficult than the 4th level. Looking at the information on the crystal watch, Lin Feng basically skimmed through all the information from the Elemental Business Alliance. Anyway, the Xiao Business Alliance ambassador and Island Master Jiang would tell him the important things, including Linger. As for the rest, he didn't need to think about it to know what was going on. Flipping through the information on the crystal watch page by page, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly brightened. One of the names on the message made his eyes instantly focus. Marshal Zhou Jingyi. Marshal Yi Yuan, Marshal Red Dragon, Marshal Justice. His reputation in ancient Huaxia was extremely resounding. He was an extremely righteous, iron-blooded, loyal soldier. His reputation was second only to the legend rankers, the world's second-ranked true martial emperor. The content of the message was very simple. Can we talk? A true soldier, speaking and doing things, was swift and decisive. Although he hadn't entered the army, Lin Feng respected the soldiers whose duty was to protect the country from the bottom of his heart. Without their protection, without their dedication, how could there be a country? How could there be a home? In the previous era, the rise of ancient Huaxia was due to the countless hot-blooded soldiers who sacrificed their precious lives. Beep, Lin Feng dialed a number. In an instant, the micro-video projection lit up. It was a resolute, an unyielding man wearing a Zhongshan suit. His eyes flashed as he looked over. "Hello, Marshal Justice," Lin Feng said. Zhou Jingyi nodded and sized up Lin Feng. Suddenly, he said indifferently, "Heroes indeed come from the young. Marshal, you flatter me." Lin Feng smiled. "I wonder, why is Marshal looking for me?" Zhou Jingyi looked at Lin Feng and said, "You should be able to guess. The holy treasure, Lightning Pearl," Lin Feng said. Zhou Jingyi nodded. "This is indeed a bit difficult to talk about, but for the sake of the army, I have to be thick-skinned and ask you." Zhou Jingyi's eyes flashed as he stared at Lin Feng. "Do you know where the Lightning Pearl is unearthed?" Lin Feng was stunned. He thought that martial justice wanted to ask him for the lightning pearl, but he didn't expect that it was just a question. That's true, Lin Feng thought. What kind of person was the marshal of justice? He had his pride and dignity. Naturally, he couldn't be like Manla. I won't hide it from Marshal, Lin Feng replied. Although I'm not 100% sure, I do know the rough location. If there are no accidents, I believe that the fifth lightning pearl will appear in the afternoon. As for its location, Lin Feng operated the crystal watch and shared the information. This is the map. Lin Feng looked at Zhou Jingyi. Is there anything else I can help you with? Zhou Jingyi opened the map of the Qinling Mountains. The precise location of the Taibai mountain area was marked. His eyes flashed as he nodded. It's really here. The Scientific Research Institute is only 80% sure, and the area is 7 or 8 times larger. Huh. Zhou Jingyi looked over. Aren't you going? Don't bite off more than you can chew. Lin Feng smiled. Besides, do you think I can still appear now? Zhou Jingyi laughed heartily. Good, straightforward. I thank you on behalf of the army. Zhou Jingyi's eyes were bright. As long as you are willing, you are welcome to join the army at any time. You don't have to worry about your safety. If you join the army, with me, Zhou Jingyi, no one will dare to touch you. His voice was as loud as a bell. Lin Feng could feel the sincerity in the eyes of the burly man in front of him. Chapter 192. For Lin Feng, it was his duty to contribute to the country. Not for other reasons, but because the blood in his body was the blood of Huaxia. However, he didn't have to join the army. He liked to cultivate and challenge without restrictions, instead of improving his strength step by step. Moreover, the Elemental Commerce Alliance had trained him. Although the secondary meeting ended on a bad note, it was because of Manla. Right now, Manla was so important in the alliance that even the alliance leaders had to swallow their anger. So what if he had to suffer a little? As a human, he should repay the kindness of others. That was what his brother had taught him since he was a child. Keep cultivating. Lin Feng bumped his fists. After eating and drinking, he went back to the cultivation room. 3 days. Another 3 days. Time passed quickly for Lin Feng. He immersed himself in cultivation. Every 3 days, he would stop to visit his mother and sister, as well as the gentle and lovely Ling Er. He had successfully used the 5th layer of the 9-dragon scripture for the first time. He had slowly become proficient in it, but he still needed time to settle down before he could perfectly use it. The 5th Thunderbolt Pearl was unearthed. With the most accurate location on the map, Zhou Jingyi and Hao Taijun, 2 Sea Kings, got the 5th Thunderbolt Pearl before Dragon Murder Island and the first bank of Huaxia. This time, Zhou Jingyi caught the Thunderbolt Pearl before it even hit the ground. No one dared to take it, because he was the most powerful man in the military, the commander of Yiyuan, Zhou Jingyi. November 4th, 80% of the 5th level of the 9-Dragon Sutra. November 7th, 90% of the 5th level of a 9-Dragon Sutra. November 30th, whoosh. Behind Lin Feng, 5 giant dragons soared into the sky. Their scales and horns were terrifying, and their eyes were shining. The sun was in the middle of the 5 dragons. They were like the souls of the earth. Powerful spirit qi gathered and flowed into Lin Feng's body. The soul of the earth in his dantian flashed with golden light. It had increased from 1% of his dantian to several times. The 12 golden threads were as tough as meridians. They transmitted and gathered spirit qi. Compared to the spirit qi absorbed in the West Lake's ancient ruins, the spirit qi was much stronger. His speed was even faster than the others. Heaven tier heart mantras were very rare, and middle-grade heaven tier ones were even rarer. Ordinary manic level experts mostly cultivated in peak-grade earth tier heart sutras. Only those with a certain status and power would be able to cultivate a heaven tier low-grade technique. If one could reach Yi Sun's level, the boundless mysterious technique he cultivated would be a mid-grade heaven-ranked technique. The second level of the boundless mysterious technique would be at the 9th level of the heaven-ranked technique, and the 3rd level would be at the 6th level of the heaven-ranked technique. However, without a strong perception and the aptitude of an ancient martial artist, even if the Heaven Tier Heart Sutra was placed in front of him, it would still be useless. It was also difficult to cultivate. 100%. Lin Feng exhaled softly and opened his eyes. 23 days. Lin Feng stood up. He was quite surprised. The fourth stage of the Nine-Dragon scripture. He had spent a full 7 days to reach the 5th floor, but the 5th floor was 10 times more complicated than the 4th floor. Furthermore, he had to control his spiritual energy completely. Based on his previous estimation, it would take at least 2 to 3 months. But now, however, it went unexpectedly smoothly. Its talent soul. Lin Feng walked out of the Geno nutrition cabin. Compared to the past, I have a clearer sense of my body, more precise control over my strength, and most importantly, my comprehension. Previously, it was difficult to understand. Now I understand all of it. No wonder it was much easier to comprehend the saber art. Lin Feng smiled, although his spiritual energy could not be fully utilized at the moment. But at the very least, the spiritual energy could strengthen his physique. Secondly, his comprehension would be greatly enhanced. Thirdly, he could use his spiritual energy to control his flying sword, coming and going freely. Fourthly, he could control the power of titanium and perform his elemental martial arts better. Fifthly, he could cultivate and absorb spiritual energy at the same time, increasing his mind expanse at a faster rate. The effects were extremely extensive. My strength. Under normal circumstances, I should be comparable to a beginner Sea King expert. If I use the 5th stage of the Nine-Dragon scripture, perhaps I can fight against a mid-level Sea King expert. Lin Feng walked out of the cultivation room. After nearly a month of hard work, his strength had increased by 1 level. In the hall, after talking to his mother and sister, Lin Feng dialed Ling Er's number. The 6th lightning ball should have been unearthed. I wonder which force obtained it? Lin Feng was a little curious. 3 days ago, he had sent the 6th lightning ball's location to the Marshal of Justice. However, it was far less important than the 5th lightning ball's location. Up until now, not counting his sneaky one, for lightning balls had been unearthed. The more data he had, the more accurate his calculations would be. The fight for the 6th ball must be intense, Lin Feng thought. That scene would be grand and vast. Unfortunately, he could not join the fun. At this moment, the micro-video projection lit up. Ling Er's beautiful face entered his eyes. Her big eyes were very beautiful. Beauty was in the eye of the beholder. Brother Lin, you definitely can't guess who obtained the 6th lightning ball? Ling Er blinked. Is it very special? Lin Feng smiled. Yes, Ling Er said mischievously. Lin Feng was deep in thought. The location of the 6th lightning ball was no longer a secret. Snatching the 6th lightning ball basically eliminated the forces without a Sea King expert. Even if they obtained it, they would not be able to keep it. Dragon Killing Island, Huaxia's first bank, the military. Whoever obtained it seemed very normal. He definitely could not guess. Lin Feng's eyes flashed slightly. Is it the military's newly promoted Marshal Huang Long? Lin Feng guessed. Ling Er covered her mouth in surprise. Her face was full of disbelief. Lin Feng could not help but smile at her adorable expression. It seemed that he had guessed correctly. 3 days ago, he had talked to the Marshal of Justice and learned that the military had produced a 3rd Sea King expert. It was also the 24th Sea King expert in ancient Huaxia. He was ranked after the Marshal of Justice, Zhou Jingyi. After the Marshal of Iron Army, Hao Taijun. Brother Lin, how could you even guess this? Ling Er pouted. I guessed. Lin Feng smiled. He chatted with Ling Er for a while. This time, the fight for the lightning balls was intense and cruel. Many Sea King grade powerhouses were injured, and dozens of savage grade powerhouses had died. It was an exceptionally tragic scene. However, no matter how fierce the fight was, it had nothing to do with him. Lin Feng was about to go back and cultivate when his crystal suddenly flashed. Lin Feng glanced at it. It was a communication request from Island Master Jiang. He was surprised. Island Master Jiang rarely took the initiative to contact him. What happened? Lin Feng accepted the call. In an instant, a video projection flashed. Island Master Zhang's anxious and nervous face appeared on the screen. He had always been calm and kind, but it was rare for him to have such an expression. His slightly pale face was extremely anxious. Quick, Lin Feng, something bad has happened. Come to Elemental City quickly. Manla has gone crazy. He wants to break into Elemental City and capture your mother. Bang! Lin Feng's heart was greatly shaken, and his face was full of shock. His spine felt cold, and his whole body was cold. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes were bloodshot, and his veins were exposed. He is courting death. Lin Feng's eyes were about to burst. Chapter 193. Beside the lake in the Taibai mountain area, 3 savage level elites sat together. 2 of them were wearing level elemental armor, while the other one was wearing Geno armor. They were discussing the unearthing of the 6th Thunderbolt orb. The fierce battle between more than 10 Sea King level elites was shocking. Damn Li Jixing. If he hadn't stopped the young master, the 6th Thunderbolt orb would have been ours. That's right. The guy is crazy. He didn't take the Thunderbolt orb and insisted on bothering young master Zi Kuei. The damn Shina army got it for free. Should have stopped talking. While they were talking, splash. Water splashed everywhere. Waves rose from the lake. The 3 savage level elites stood up instantly. The dragon-killing island logo on their armor shone brightly. Thud! Lin Feng's face was cold. He didn't wear a human skin mask. He appeared alone, and his eyes were bloodshot. His entire body emitted an aura that made people shudder. Lin Feng. It's Lin Feng. The 3 savage-level powerhouses reacted instantly. Lin Feng was now the focus of Dragon Killing Island and even the entire ancient China. He was a wanted target. Who didn't know him? Northern Plains Hong. The leader of the group was a man with disheveled hair. Quick, surround him. To them, Lin Feng was a moving treasure. Unfortunately, they only knew that Lin Feng had 2 Thunderbolt orbs. They didn't know that Lin Feng was also a ruthless killer. Dragon Killing Island. Lin Feng's face was cold. The black dragon battle saber flashed, and an overwhelming killing intent burst out in an instant. Chi! 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 The 3 sabers from the Inferno Purgatory killed the 3 savage-level powerhouses as if they were tofu. Without using the super-heavy titanium region, Lin Feng's strength was far beyond that of an ordinary savage-level elite. Under Black Dragon's battle saber, no one could survive. Boom! The entire land seemed to be burning intensely. The 5th move, Blade Mountain Flame Sea. Buzz! Lin Feng put the Black Dragon battle blade back into its sheath and pressed the crystal watch. Manla! Next! It's you. Elemental City. Located southeast of ancient China, it was built by the Elemental Shopping Center at a huge cost. It was equipped with the most advanced particle laser beam, nuclear cannons, Tibetan-grade Skynet, and its defense level. It could even withstand the attacks of an annihilation level. There were also savage-level experts taking turns to guard the place, making it impenetrable. Its defense was comparable to that of a country's security. But now it was chaotic. Get out of the way! A rough voice shouted. Roar! It was a bald man with dark skin and a body that looked like it was made of steel. There was a scar on his forehead and traces of blood stains on his body. Even the high-grade kasaya he was wearing was torn. At first glance, it was obvious that a fierce battle had just taken place. It was Brahmin Manla. The ones who stopped him were 5 business alliance leaders, all of who were injured. 2 of them held Manla tightly, while the other 3 stood in front of him. Surrounded Manla. The deacon in charge of guarding the gate was so scared that he dared not move. If other Sea King level elites dared to force their way in, he would have ordered them to attack. But Manla, he was the only Sea King level elite that the Elemental Alliance worshipped. He was the anchor of the Elemental Alliance. Who dared to offend him? Not to mention him, even the leaders of the Merchant Union in front of him, who had ugly expressions on their faces, did not dare to fall out with Manla. Without a Sea King level elite, the status of the Elemental Alliance would plummet. As one of the 3 major consortiums in the world, if they did not have strong enough armed forces, they would become the target of other forces. Get out of the way! Manla roared. His face was ashen. Manla had lost all his patience after failing to snatch the Thunder Light ball twice in a row. This time, he was seriously injured. With no way to vent his anger, coupled with the resentment of losing his treasures again and again, Manla's patience finally reached its limit. Manla, you can't do this. Yes, Manla. If you do this, the reputation of our Elemental Alliance will be ruined. The Elemental Alliance leaders persuaded him anxiously. Elemental City was the place where all the families of the Elemental Alliance gathered. He had fought against a high-level martial honorable and a savage-level expert. The reason why he was willing to sacrifice his life for the Merchant Alliance was because he had nothing to worry about. They knew that even if they died in battle, the Elemental Alliance would let their families live a comfortable life. But now Manla, Jiang Wufeng shouted angrily. With gray hair, he appeared at the iron alloy gate of Elemental City with heavy steps. Don't go too far. This is Huaxia, not India. Before Jiang Wufeng's voice died away, Manla's face was already twisted and ferocious. With a loud bang, the level Kasaya flashed with a bright light. Skulls penetrated its chest and condensed into the head of a giant beast. It was abrupt and terrifying. Pashupata Sutra, one of the 8 sacred scriptures of India. Bang! An astonishing energy instantly repelled the Elemental Alliance leaders who had gathered around. Manla roared like a tiger or a wolf. To be able to receive the Elemental Merchant Alliance's worship and endure such humiliation, Manla's strength was definitely not ordinary. He was a mid-level Sea King expert. His arm strangely elongated and shot towards Jiang Wufeng like lightning. In a split second, bang! The strange long arm, which was 10 meters long, hit Jiang Wufeng hard like steel. Jiang Wufeng didn't have time to react to the sudden attack. His chest caved in, and he was seriously injured in one move. If Manasi hadn't wanted to kill him, Jiang Wufeng would have been dead. Old Jiang, Island Lord Jiang. The Elemental Alliance leaders' faces changed. However, Manla didn't care about the crowd at all. In an instant, the giant skeleton beast shone brightly and swept its leg. Its steel-like leg lengthened like a hand and was 10 meters long. It carried a strong gang chi and condensed the power of the scripture behemoth. It was unstoppable. Bang, bang, bang. The Elemental Alliance leaders either fell or retreated. The situation was extremely chaotic. Manla did not care about fighting one against many. His ferocious face was abrupt. Thinking of the battle with Marshal Tai Jun, he had nowhere to vent his anger. At this time, he was going to do what he wanted to do today. No one could stop him. No. The deacon guarding the gate was horrified and was about to shout. Suddenly, whoosh! A long steel arm appeared out of nowhere and grabbed him by the neck. Crack! I'll say it again. Manla's Chinese was harsh. Stop me. Die. Bang. Bang. His fists were like machine guns, bombarding fiercely. The gate made of titanium alloy was instantly dented and riddled with holes. The attack of a Sea King was extremely powerful. The Elemental Alliance leaders' faces were pale. Their injuries were worsening, and it was difficult for them to advance or retreat. Manla roared angrily, and the skeleton beast became more ferocious. Swish! Manla's face changed. A terrifying force came from behind and enveloped him in an instant. Manla! It came from the sky with a thunderous roar. Lin Feng held the Black Dragon War Saber in his hand. Flames and thunder kept ringing. This was endless anger. Chapter 194. Lin Feng. It was Lin Feng. All the business leaders widened their eyes in shock. Right now, Lin Feng's appearance was not beneficial at all. On the contrary, he would become Mance's target to vent his anger. This Indian strongman was completely crazy now. He could do anything, severely injuring island owner Jiang, killing the deacon, and smashing the gate of Elemental City with his fist. Kill Lin Feng? That was Manla's goal. No, Jiang Wufeng's face was pale, and he regretted it. If he had known Manla would become like this, he would not have let Lin Feng come back. That would be suicide. But thunder and fire. As soon as Lin Feng attacked, all the business leaders widened their eyes. Every single one of them was a high-level expert of the wildlands. Given their lofty statuses, they were able to discern the difference in strength between each other in an instant. Not only was Lin Feng not weak, he was actually incredibly powerful. Boom! It was the 5th level of swordsmanship and the proficient swordsmanship. Immovable King Zheng appeared behind Lin Feng. His anger made the black dragon swordsmanship roar. His body cells seemed to contain the power of thunder, fire, and lightning. Lin Feng suddenly burst out a horrible fighting power. The swordsmanship was condensed with the pure titanium power. Bang! The fist and the sword collided. Manla's face changed. He had suffered a great loss in the first attack. However, as he retreated, Manla's arms stretched out like 2 poisonous snakes and went straight for Lin Feng's chest. The sinister attack hit Lin Feng directly. Bang! Bang! Lin Feng gritted his teeth and took the 2 heavy punches with his body. His Geno armor was dented with 2 big holes, but the sacred scale coat weakened Manla's attack. The body of a sea king. Bang! The 2 retreated and landed. In the blink of an eye, the business leaders were stunned. They did not even dare to breathe. He never thought that Lin Feng's strength would become so tyrannical. The air condensed, and the blood of the battle spread outside Elemental City. Manla's eyes were shining, and his murderous intent exploded again. Bang! Bang! It was like a machine gun firing. Manla stood up and stretched his arms. The Gang Chi blasted toward Lin Feng. The Pashupata Sutra, one of the 8 sacred scriptures of India, used the body as a weapon. Indian martial arts used the will to control the strength, and used the strength to exert force. Compared to ancient Huaxia, they were more proficient in external martial arts. Step of the Wise King. Lin Feng was determined. This was the first time he had faced such a strange attack. It was true that he had suffered a loss. However, it did not mean that he would suffer a loss the second time. Spiritual energy. Wow, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The power of titanium was released to the limit, and spiritual power instantly condensed in his heart. Lin Feng used the Wisdom King steps to avoid Manla's attack at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Manla was close to Lin Feng. However, in an instant, an incomparably terrifying gravitational force appeared, causing the surrounding ground to collapse and rubble to rumble. Buzz! Sizzle! The titanium elements quickly combined to form a titanium space. Super Heavy Titanium Domain, 2nd level. Super Heavy Titanium Domain. It can't be. He's our Merchant Alliance's Merchant Alliance envoy. The Merchant Alliance leaders were dumbfounded. Looking at the furious young man in front of them, the Merchant Alliance leaders were a little confused. They could not connect him with the young man at the S-level meeting. If they had known that Lin Feng had such strength, they would not have tolerated Manla. Lin Feng's strength was even greater than the 2 dead Merchant Alliance leaders combined. They were all stronger. And he was actually an ancient warrior and a Geno warrior. Unheard of. Boom. Boom. One slash, another slash. Lin Feng had the upper hand, and Manla was retreating. Manla, who had been seriously injured in the battle with Marshal Tai Jun, was now a miserable target. Lin Feng's attack was terrifying, and he did not give even half a step back. The 2nd level of the Super Heavy Titanium Domain was weakened. It made it difficult for him to move, and every move he made was against Lin Feng. His body was like steel. The Gang Chi collapsed. The S-level cassock was broken beyond recognition, and the giant beast formed by the skull on his chest was dim. It had long lost its original power. Manla was completely forced into a desperate situation. Bang! Once again, he was smashed by Lin Feng's blade, and his whole body hit the gate of Elemental City. He was bruised all over, and it was extremely tragic. Bang! His dark skin oozed blood, and Manla's face was pale, and he had no breath. The terrible gravity made him breathless, and the surrounding space was dark and bloody. Only the young man with the saber was left, showing endless killing intent that frightened him. Manla was terrified, and Lin Feng's strength made him feel deep despair. What kind of hero are you to take advantage of others? Manla stared at Lin Feng like a wild wolf, and his Chinese was very stiff. Lin Feng walked towards Manla, and the black dragon saber was dripping blood. Drip, drip. The sound was full of fear. If you have the ability, wait for me to recover and fight again. Manla was unwilling. If he had not been injured in the battle with Marshal Tai Jun and could not use 50% of his strength, he would not have lost to Lin Feng, even if he could not defeat him. Lin Feng stopped. Manla's eyes shone with hope. Suddenly, Lin Feng raised the black dragon saber in his hand, and the black dragon on the saber was extremely ferocious. No, Manla hissed. You can't kill me. I go to hell and repent. Lin Feng's voice was cold. The power of raging thunder broke out in an instant. The black dragon saber drew a lightning arc and directly cut through the air, and the majestic power collapsed the gate of Elemental City. Manla's head flew up, and his eyes were still filled with fear and unwillingness. Blood spurted out. Bang! The sound made people's hearts stop. There was a deathly silence. The business leaders looked at this scene as if they were suffocating. Lin Feng's strength made them overjoyed, but at the same time, they were frightened. The newborn calf was not afraid of the tiger. The one he had killed was a Sea King-level expert, Brahmin Manla. That was the Brahmin sect of the ancient Tianzhu country, one of the 8 great guardian kings. Whoosh! Whoosh! Xiao Rufeng and Gong Sunling arrived and looked ahead in shock. Lin Feng was holding the black dragon battle saber in his hand. Drops of blood were shining on the tip of the saber. Manla, who was in front of him, was already dead. The two swallowed their saliva, shocked and frightened. Lin Feng kill Manla? No way. How could his strength become so terrible? Lin Feng, do you know Manla's identity? Su Ku, the business leader, looked at Lin Feng and hesitated. I know. Lin Feng had calmed down by now. He looked at Manla's body with a calm expression. The ambassador of the Xia Business Alliance had already told him Manla's identity, but it didn't mean he would be afraid of it. Not to mention the 8 protectors. Even if the leader of the sacred religion of Brahmin dared to attack his family, he would never tolerate it. Even if he was no match for him, he would not back down. If he couldn't even protect his family, what kind of man was he? Don't worry. I, Lin Feng, will withdraw from the Elemental Business Alliance. Lin Feng glanced at the business leaders. Tell Brahmin, I killed Brahmin Manla. Come and take revenge on me. Stepping into Elemental City. Lin Feng's back was firm and unyielding. Chapter 195. Elemental City. It was a 3-story bungalow surrounded by a colorful and blooming garden. Birds chirped and flowers bloomed. A gentle, graceful, mature, and beautiful woman stood in the middle of the garden. Her picturesque face had a faint smile as she watered pots of flowers. It was as if she had walked out of a painting, an orchid in an empty valley. Lin Feng stood outside the garden, smiling faintly. His mother liked this kind of peaceful and comfortable life the most. She liked to stay away from worldly affairs. Lin Feng didn't regret killing Manla. From the day he set his sights on his family, the result was already decided. If he didn't die, then he would die. Manla was a wolf that couldn't be tamed. Even if he let him go, he would definitely return to India to ask for reinforcements. At that time, he would still attract more trouble. It was better to end things as they were now. If the Brahmin sect wanted revenge, then they could come. Other than the legend rancor, the Brahmin sect leader, he wasn't afraid of the other 7 guardian kings. While he was thinking, his mother looked over with a gentle smile. Mom. Lin Feng smiled and walked over. Inside the house, Brother Yuer's voice sounded. A pair of exquisite eyes and a small nose came over like the wind. Lin Feng looked at his sister, Yuer, and smiled. Looking at her through a video projection was completely different from looking at her face to face. His sister was a little taller than before. He didn't know if it was because of her age or her cultivation, but she was less immature. But their feelings for each other hadn't changed. He smiled and opened his arms. Yuer flew over like a swallow. Lin Feng smiled from the bottom of his heart as he felt the warmth of his family. For them, he was willing to give up everything. They had been separated for almost half a year. Since he entered the floating elemental island, his mother and sister moved to the elemental island, and he went to Mount Hua to pick the great earth purple dew. They didn't meet each other. Fortunately, there was a video projection, so he didn't miss them too much. Only when he returned home could he feel the warmth of family. By the way, brother, I heard from Mei Lin and Mei Yin that there was a fierce battle outside Elemental City just now. Yu'er said excitedly. Really? Lin Feng picked up an apple. Mei Lin and Mei Yin were his sister's neighbors and friends. Play together, cultivate together. Yes. I heard that it's a battle between savage-level experts. Many of the merchant union's leaders have come. Yu'er looked at Lin Feng and asked curiously, brother, why don't you care about it at all? Aren't you most interested in the challenges between the strong? Lin Feng smiled. He cut open the apple and passed a slice to his sister. And then? I don't know after that. Yu'er pouted and took a bite of the apple. A lot of people rushed out to take a look, but it was blocked. I heard that even the titanium alloy gate was smashed. It's unbelievable. Even without activating the titanium Skynet and defensive energy, the strength of the titanium alloy door was at the top of the wilderness. How could it be smashed? When the strength exceeds the top of the wilderness, it naturally broke. Lin Feng took a bite of the apple and said casually, Yu'er's eyes widened. There's something stronger than the savage level? Lin Feng nodded. After the Sea King level, there's the tidal level. That's the ultimate strength of the world. Oh. Yu'er nodded. Lin Feng smiled. The environment determined one's experience. When he was Yu'er's age, he didn't even know about savage-level experts, let alone Elemental Merchant Union, Dragon Slaughter Island, or Brahmin Sect. By the way, brother, did you see the battle outside when you came back? Yu'er's eyes flashed. Lin Feng smiled. Yes, I do. Really? Yu'er was pleasantly surprised. Then do you know who broke the titanium alloy door? Lin Feng pointed at himself. Me. His voice wasn't loud, but it made the atmosphere in the hall freeze. Yu'er was a bit stunned. Even his mother, Jiru Hua, revealed a look of astonishment. Her beautiful eyes flickered. Suddenly, Yu'er burst into laughter. Brother, when did you learn a joke? It's true. Lin Feng looked at Yu'er and then at Jiru Hua. Just now, I killed the Sea King level expert of the Elemental Merchant Union, Brahmin Manla. So, we might have to move again. Lin Feng's voice was very calm. But his sister Yu'er and mother Jiru Hua were completely shocked. The air was strangely suffocating. Lin Feng wouldn't act rashly. Although he was full of anger, he already had a backup plan. He was most worried about his mother and sister, but with the Justice Marshal's guarantee, his mother and sister could live in the capital military region, the region with the strongest defense in ancient Huaxia. Not only did they have the same level of protection as Elemental City, but they also had the Great Wall of Sacred Remains, military experts, and even true martial training hall. The head of the 4 great training halls and the head of the 5 giants of Huaxia. The true martial training hall had 4 Sea King level experts, more than the other 3 combined. They also had the true martial emperor, the second transcendent existence in the world. The capital could be said to be as stable as a rock. The only worry was the Z family of Yinshang. Lin Feng looked at his mother, Jiru Hua, with bright eyes. Yes, the overlord of the capital is the Z family of Yinshang. Jiru Hua's voice was soft, hiding a faint heartache. During the ancient martial era, they were the culprits who caused the destruction of our Ji family. Now, the Z family is flourishing and has great power throughout the entire Huaxia region. Especially his existence. It makes the Z family stand firm and unshakable. The true martial emperor. His mother's voice was very soft, but when it fell on Lin Feng's heart, it was as heavy as a boulder. Big brother, were you captured by the true martial emperor? Lin Feng's voice was heavy and hoarse. No. Jiru Hua shook her head. Lin Feng was stunned. Just as he was about to continue asking, the doorbell suddenly rang. Lin Feng and his mother looked at each other, then pressed the button to open the door. In a split-second whoosh, 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 3 figures entered. The Merchant Alliance's leader, Su Ku, Ding Yining, and Yen Qing. The Merchant Alliance's leader. Yu'er was shocked and in disbelief. Brother Lin Feng, all the Merchant Alliance's leaders are here. May I have a word with you? Suka smiled and asked. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. No matter what, the Merchant Alliance had treated him well. Even if they were to leave, they should have something to tell him. Okay. Lin Feng nodded to his mother, indicating that she did not need to worry. Then, he walked out of the door with the 3 Merchant Alliance's leaders. Yuer's face was red and white. Her eyes were excited and nervous. Brother is so powerful. 3 Merchant Alliance's leaders came to invite him. Yes. Ji Ruhua smiled softly and shook her head. I didn't expect Feng to have the strength of a Sea King in such a short time. He's 100 times more outstanding than I imagined. Maybe one day, because of Feng our Ji family will rise again. Chapter 196. Elemental City, Inner City. Advanced weapons and equipment were set up everywhere in the high-tech city. Only those at the Manwang level can enter this place. Su Ku and Lin Feng walk side by side, while Ding Yining and Yin Qing follow behind them. Su Ku, who was in charge of the important affairs of the Merchant Union, Island Master Jiang, who was in charge of the floating elemental island, and Gu Yong, who was in charge of the finances, had a slightly higher position than the other 6. Lin Feng nodded. Elemental City was divided into 3 districts. The outer district was occupied by normal patrol envoys, combat warriors with special contributions, and many ordinary people with families. Currently, only savage-level experts were allowed to enter the inner city. There were internal deacons, external supervisors, and business alliance ambassadors with free identities. Further, it was the real core of Elemental City. The central district. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In front of him was a familiar figure. He stood like a soldier and guarded the only entrance to the central district. Lin Feng. Huang Shang was stunned. 3 months ago, he successfully became a savage-level expert and was allowed to stay in Elemental City. He was promoted to deacon and assigned to guard the central district. This was a lucrative job for deacons. Those who entered and left the central district were all elemental merchants. Normal deacons and supervisors couldn't even see the elemental merchants, but he could see them often. If he could build a good relationship with them, he would definitely be promoted in the future. He knew that Lin Feng had become an elemental merchant. However, Huang Shang believed that he could catch up with Lin Feng soon. He was also a super genius and definitely not weaker than Lin Feng. Who would have thought? Elemental merchants, Su, Ding, and Yin. Huang Shang bowed respectfully and didn't dare to show any disrespect. Su Ku, Ding Yining, and Yin Qing nodded. They didn't linger on Huang Shang and surrounded Lin Feng as if they were his followers. Brother Huang, Lin Feng greeted. Elemental merchants Lin, Huang Shang replied. Lin Feng smiled. Brother Lin, this way. Suka pressed his palm. He entered the 12-digit password and opened the gate to the central district. Okay. Lin Feng nodded to Huang Shang as he entered. Ding Yining and Yin Qing quickly followed. Lin Feng, he entered the city's center. Huang Shang murmured. He pressed his chest. His face was somewhat pale. According to the rules of the Elemental Merchant Alliance, except for scientists, those who could enter the central city, only the Merchant Alliance leader. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was truly an eye-opener. Entering the city center was like entering a world of science and technology. Floating fortresses appeared one after another. Iron walls and tall buildings made of zinc alloy, nickel magnetic stairs, electric corridors, and the sky emitted a titanium light, which was very similar to the second layer of his super-heavy titanium domain. He stepped onto the motorized corridor. This is the titanium-grade sky curtain, Su Ku introduced. The defensive power is equivalent to the titanium Skynet at the outermost periphery of Elemental City. It has reached the highest level of technology at present, but it consumes a lot of energy. Lin Feng nodded lightly. Just the thought of it was shocking. To be able to withstand the attack of an annihilation-level monster, the energy consumption must be huge. The titanium-grade sky curtain area was not large, but the titanium-grade Skynet that enveloped the entire Elemental City was at least 1,000 times larger, so it was impossible to activate it all the time. The motorized corridor was extremely fast, like a hovering car passing through. In an instant, Lin Feng's gaze fell in front of him, his eyes flashing. It was a huge pyramid, flashing with a golden luster, at least 100 meters tall. Just the gold used to build, it was probably an astronomical figure. But what was shocking was not the pyramid itself, but the light at the top of it that seemed to connect to the sky. Lin Feng looked up. Through the titanium-grade sky curtain, he could vaguely see the light going straight into the sky, but he could not see the end. The light seemed to contain a familiar and powerful energy. Merchant Alliance leader Su Ku, is this a pyramid? Lin Feng asked curiously. Su Ku smiled and nodded. This is the Merchant Alliance's scientific and technological personnel. It took them 10 years to build it by imitating the Egyptian pyramids. The pyramids are a kind of super advanced energy technology. With our current level of research, we can only imitate 1/10,000th of it at most. Brother Lin, do you know the Qin Emperor's mausoleum? Su Ku asked. Lin Feng was slightly startled, but he nodded. The interior of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum is actually a pyramid design. Su Ku smiled. It absorbs the energy of planets, which is the first level of cosmic energy. But the technology of the previous era is far inferior to ours. Brother Lin, if you have the chance, you can enter it. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He met Su Ku's eyes, and the latter narrowed his eyes and smiled. The motorized corridor soon slowed down. Lin Feng looked ahead. It was a huge building that looked like a beetle. It seemed to be made of ancient boulders. It was a little damaged, but the overall feeling was indescribably wonderful. It was as if it was a huge beetle, and there was even a pair of wings on the back of the beetle. But it was petrified and solidified. It was quite strange. It is indeed the Elemental Commerce Alliance that is as rich as a country. Lin Feng was surprised. At the entrance, beep, the transmission scanning light beam shot out. Beams of electromagnetic light shot in, and the control panel received the message. The screen showed a perspective view of Su Ku's face. The blood vessels crisscrossed and were inextricably linked. The control panel showed another picture of the blood vessels on the face. The two pictures overlapped. %* on the somewhat dark and old control panel, a strange symbol appeared. In an instant, the light door opened. Brother Lin, this way please, Su Ku said. Lin Feng responded softly. Everything here was too mysterious. The passage was like a sheep intestine. The surroundings were emitting the light of fireflies, as if there were countless fireflies in the gaps. Everyone's facial blood vessels are different. Su Ku said, just like everyone's palm prints and fingerprints, they are unique. Palm prints and fingerprints are easy to fake, but the blood vessel distribution is hard to understand. It is currently the most rigorous identification system, unique in the world. Lin Feng nodded. Indeed, it was not difficult to fake palm prints and fingerprints. This is the most confidential place of the Elemental Commerce Alliance, and also the safest place, Su Ku said. Even the Great Extinction can't destroy this place. Lin Feng was shocked. In his heart, he vaguely understood. As one of the 3 largest financial groups in the world, the Elemental Commerce Alliance controlled too much wealth, technology, and even a lot of hidden information. For example, Dragon Killing Island was also one of the 5 giants of ancient Huaxia. But what did Dragon Killing Island have? Other than the Yasukuni Shrine, it was nothing compared to the Elemental Commerce Alliance. The Elemental Commerce Alliance worshipped Brahman Manla and compromised only for the sake of the big picture. After losing the Sea King, the Elemental Commerce Alliance was left with only 9 leaders. The high-level savage masters were powerful in the eyes of ordinary people, but in the eyes of the Sea King, what were they? Lin Feng sighed softly in his heart. We're here, Su Ku said to Lin Feng with a smile. After passing through the narrow path, the front suddenly opened up. Lin Feng looked over. Island Master Jiang, Yi Fan, and the other leaders were already seated. When he arrived, they all stood up to welcome him. Hello. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Chapter 197. Lin Feng took a seat. Although he had met them in the S-level meeting, but in person, many of them were meeting for the first time. For example, Yi Fan, the youngest leader of the Chamber of Commerce, was the one he was most familiar with apart from Island Master Jiang. But in fact, it was their first meeting. The real Yi Fan looked even more approachable. His smile was filled with admiration and vigor. Su Ku and Ding Yining's goodwill could be felt from the last S-level meeting. Gu Demo and Yin Qing wore polite smiles on their faces and didn't say much. Gu Yong, Ma Ho, and Wan Ningxin looked a little solemn, especially Wan Ningxin. Her slightly powdered face was a little sullen, and her frown made her fishtail look even more obvious. There is only one purpose for this meeting. Suka glanced at everyone to decide whether Lin Feng should stay or leave. Lin Feng's eyes flickered slightly. He wasn't surprised. There were only two paths in front of the Chamber of Commerce. First, if he left the Elemental Chamber of Commerce, he would take responsibility for Mana's death, and the Chamber of Commerce wouldn't have to worry about the revenge of the Brahmin sect. As for completely falling out with him, the Elemental Chamber of Commerce couldn't afford to offend a Sea King-level expert. The second path was undoubtedly simpler, and that was to stand on his side. For the Elemental Chamber of Commerce, without a Sea King-level expert, it would be like walking on the edge of a cliff. Ancient Huaxia did have 4 free Sea King-level experts, but if they could invite them, why would the Elemental Chamber of Commerce need to worship an Indian expert? Although he had killed Brahmin Mana, he was different from Mana in that he was a Huaxia citizen, and he was trained by the Elemental Chamber of Commerce. This was very important. No matter how strong he was, if he didn't put his heart into the Chamber of Commerce and be loyal, what was the use? The specific situation. I believe everyone is clear. Jiang Wufeng coughed and looked terrible. He was hurt by Mana before. We have already discussed the pros and cons. Don't waste time. Simple, follow the old rules. Vote. Those who agree with Lin Feng staying, raise your hand. Jiang Wufeng was old and had prestige. He raised his hand as soon as he finished speaking. Lin Feng. He is a super genius nurtured by my floating elemental island. Island Master Jiang said in a hoarse voice, his expression resolute. He's comparable to the twin stars of Huaxia. His future is limitless. Suku also raised his hand with a smile. I still want to spar with him. Yi Fan raised his hand. He's from the Merchant Union. Ding Yining said calmly. In an instant, there were already 4 votes. Seeing this, Lin Feng's eyes flickered. As expected, the vote was only 1 vote away from reaching a consensus. I object, Wan Ningliang rebuked angrily. Keeping him will bring great trouble to the Merchant Alliance. Agreed. This will be the starting point. Maho had a long horse-like face and looked nervous. Mamla's death. It will definitely ignite the wrath of the Brahmin sect. If the Brahmin sect leader comes here personally, the Merchant Alliance will be destroyed. Everyone, please reconsider, Gu Yong said solemnly. Guda Mo and Yin Qing exchanged a glance. The pros and cons, gains and losses have long been discussed publicly. Lin Feng was very calm. To leave or to stay. It was the same for him. In the previous era, money and power determined a person's fate, but in this era, strength was everything. We agree. Guda Mo and Yin Qing hesitated. Then they raised their hands. Su Ku and the others smiled, but Gu Yong and the others turned pale. Bang! The rattan chair fell. Wan Ningliang stood up. Like a tigress, she said, I said, if you keep him, I'll leave. Okay. Su Ku looked indifferent. You. Wan Ningliang was so angry that her face turned red. But remember, don't mention a word about Mamla, or else. Su Ku looked at her with sharp eyes. The Elemental Merchant Union will kill you at all costs for the crime of betraying the Merchant Union. Wan Ningliang glared at Lin Feng and gritted her teeth. If we don't keep him here, there will be other places. Don't worry, I won't do something that harms others without benefiting myself. Then she snorted angrily and left. Is there anyone else who wants to leave? Suko asked indifferently. He looked straight ahead as if he was waiting for something. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that the Merchant Union was going to change because of him. The Elemental Merchant Union is finished. Gu Yong looked dispirited, as if he had aged decades. He shook his head and left. You will definitely regret today's decision. Maho pulled a long face. his face ashen as he left with Gu Yong. In such a large space. In an instant, 1/3 of the space was empty. Lin Feng glanced at the remaining 6 leaders of the merchant union. Is it worth it? Lin Feng asked softly. No matter what, he didn't want the entire elemental merchant union to be in turmoil because of him. He felt more guilty and more responsible. Su Ku shook his head. They are just a bunch of short-sighted people. It's human nature to play it safe. Ding Yining's makeup was light, and she looked mature and capable. It's not worth it. It's a gamble. Yin Qing said helplessly and looked at Gu Demo. I've discussed it with old Gu. We'll split it 40-60. As long as Mamla's death is used, the Brahmin sect won't go to war with the merchant union. Lin Feng nodded. Mamla's death was known only to the 9 heads of the merchant union. If they did not say anything, the Brahmin sect would not know. It was very normal for Sea King level experts to die. They died while tempering themselves in the Boundless Sea region, died while fighting with other factions, or even died while fighting for treasures. There were too many possibilities. Lin Feng, don't worry about it. Island Master Jiang smiled kindly. It's not a bad thing for the merchant union to be rebuilt. The elemental merchant union used to be so powerful. Yifan's sword-like eyes shone brightly. At its peak, it was so rich that it could rival a country. Its financial power far surpassed other financial groups. It was the leader of one of the top 10 business alliances and fought against foreign enemies together with the Huaxia army. It built the reputation of ancient Huaxia. Now we have to listen to the Indians. Yifan clenched his fists. The situation is getting worse. Instead of struggling to survive, we might as well fight to live up to the names of those brave leaders. Hearing Yifan's words, Lin Feng felt his blood boiling. He didn't expect the Elemental Merchant Union to have such a glorious history. 10 leaders, the richest man in the world. How awe-inspiring. I suggest that Lin Feng be the leader of the Merchant Union. Yifan said suddenly. He's young and energetic. It's a good chance to restore the vitality of the Merchant Union. Jiang Wufeng smiled kindly and agreed. I agree. Ding Yining was as decisive as ever. Ha. Suka laughed. Everyone agrees. What do you think, Brother Lin? Everyone turned to look at him. Lin Feng was moved. He knew very well that it wasn't a matter of whether he accepted it or not. Once he accepted the position of the Merchant Union's leader, then he would have to contribute his abilities and obligations. It was his responsibility as a man to protect the Elemental Merchant Union like he was protecting his home. A gentleman's word was as good as a whip. I accept. Lin Feng stood up, his eyes gleaming. Chapter 198. Floating Elemental Island. On the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, Lin Feng's ranking was very high. 1. Number 10100, Lin Feng, total points 1158903. Number 100108, Huang Tian, total points 96001. 3. Number 098001, Yang Qingjian, total points 875539. Unknowingly, it was December. The Hidden Dragon leaderboard that changed every half a year had entered the final month. On the 1st of January, another batch of newcomers from different regions were sent to the floating elemental island. Looking at the high names on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, the newcomers' eyes were filled with longing. Work hard, newcomers. Did you see Lin Feng at the top of the leaderboard? He came in the last month of the first half of the year. He's a level 1 genius like you. However, Lin Feng entered the top 10 in the first half of the year, and his points exceeded 1 million in the second half of the year. Now, that's the famous Lin Business Alliance ambassador. The newcomers kept nodding, feeling encouraged. At this moment, in the base of the island, all the screens in the 10 regions suddenly changed. The Hidden Dragon leaderboard disappeared and was replaced by a clear video. A young figure appeared on the screen, wearing Geno armor and boots, standing tall. Hello, I am Lin Feng. From today onwards, I will officially take over the Elemental Business Alliance and become the new alliance leader. 2 short sentences, but they shocked everyone. Beside Lin Feng, the 6 alliance leaders stood on both sides. All the ambassadors, managers, and attendants were smiling and clapping. Elemental City held a grand appointment ceremony. Compared to the Alliance leader's appointment, it was much grander. The stars were shining, and everyone was watching. The Alliance leader was the true core of the Elemental Business Alliance. The entire floating elemental island was boiling. The newcomer's eyes flashed with longing. The rest of the elite geniuses were tongue-tied and completely suffocated. Especially the people in the third region, Qin Qian, Li Wangbai, looked at the newcomer who had just entered the floating elemental island half a year ago. Now, he had reached the top of the Elemental Business Alliance. Alliance leader? No way. He's really Lin Feng. Am I dreaming? Everyone murmured in disbelief. If it wasn't for the live broadcast, they wouldn't have connected the two Lin Feng together. After all, it was too scary. In just half a year, Lin Feng had grown from a newcomer. By the time he graduated and left, he would have skipped Deacon and been appointed Merchant Alliance Envoy, and then Merchant Alliance Leader. It wasn't easy for others to jump a level, but not only did he jump 2 levels at a time, his speed was also terrifying. Monster, lunatic, Chao Zhang and Chao Yang. They were truly asking for trouble back then. Yellow sky, oh yellow sky. Yang Qingjian smiled as he looked up at the sky. To think that your ambitions are higher than the heavens. Unfortunately, you were born at the wrong time to meet Lin Feng. There's a saying from the previous era that suits you very well. It's called, since there's a jade, there's a bright jade, haha, not far away. Staring at the light beam, Brahmankas felt lucky. Previously, he had wanted to kill them and rob them. Fortunately, there was an idiot who had sent himself to death first. Otherwise, he would have been the one to drown in the Westlake world. This brat, what a terrifying speed of cultivation. Brahmankas murmured, he's comparable to the twin stars of Huaxia, Li Jixing and Zikuei. When will there be such a monster in my Brahmanism? Alas, he sighed softly in his heart. Brahmankas looked at the light beam. Why? Don't I see Lord Mamla? Maybe the Merchant Alliance has a new Merchant Alliance leader. He's probably upset. Elemental City. The atmosphere was bustling with excitement. The appointment of the Merchant Alliance leader was naturally a grand affair. Almost all the Merchant Alliance envoys, deacons, and deacons came to congratulate him. Lin Feng couldn't be stingy when it came to such a big event as the Merchant Alliance leader. He sent out red packets one after another. Of course, this money was paid by the wealthy Elemental Merchant Alliance. After all, Lin Feng was still very poor now. It was just a kind of celebration. The main purpose of the Merchant Alliance envoys, deacons, and deacons was to get to know Lin Feng. At this time, there were 2 people who were the happiest. One was the Merchant Alliance envoy Xia Rufeng. To be precise, he was the Merchant Alliance leader. Because of the relationship between Lin Feng and Ling, Xia Rufeng was promoted to the position of Merchant Alliance leader and replaced Lin Feng to deal with various affairs of the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The other person was Lei Gang. Lei Gang was so happy that he was directly promoted from inspector to deacon after discovering Lin Feng that he couldn't close his mouth. He usually saw Deacon Gongsun Ling the most, but now he was on an equal footing with Deacon Gongsun. Not only that, being in charge of guarding the inner city gate was a good job. Thank you for your promotion, Lord. Lei Gang was very grateful to Lin Feng. As early as half a year ago, when he was defeated by Lin Feng, he knew that this young man's future was limitless. He didn't expect that in just half a year, Lin Feng would sit in the first position of the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Now, it could be said that when a man reached the top, even his chickens and dogs would ascend to heaven. This is for you, Brother Lei. Lin Feng smiled and handed over a crystal watch. The crystal pattern was gorgeous, like a work of art. High quality 3. Fergana horse? Lei Gang took in a daze. It was the one he gave to Lin Feng that day. This is become the Merchant Alliance leader soon, Brother Lei. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Then he turned and left. Lei Gang was baffled. He looked into the crystal watch and was immediately shocked. Savage level war chariot. Level 1 elemental battle armor. 1 million gold coins. Top quality Earth rank Heart Sutra small phaseless method. Earth rank 1st grade saber technique flaming saber. Earth rank 3rd grade movement technique wise king step. Lei Gang's chest rose and fell rapidly. He was shocked. At the bottom of the crystal watch was a very familiar bead, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Lei Gang raised his head and tried hard to recall. Suddenly, he saw a pitch-black night sky with shining stars. Lei Gang's eyes widened in horror, and he staggered. No way. This bead is the Thunderbolt Pearl that even Sea King-level experts were fighting for with all their might. A little bit of kindness should be repaid with a gushing spring. Lin Feng remembered his elder brother's teachings and had never forgotten them. Brother Lei had helped him a lot. Perhaps now, a second-hand level 3 antimony alloy elemental armor, a high-quality 3 Fergana horse, and 100,000 battle points from the world of war were just SOSO. But on that day, it made him rich overnight and gave him enough capital for cultivation. Now, he was just returning the favor. Although the energy left in the first Thunderbolt bead is less than 1%, but as long as Brother Lei's aptitude is not too bad, it should not be a problem for him to break through to the savage level. Lin Feng walked to the crowd and greeted them one by one with a smile. It was the same for Brother Lei and the Elemental Merchant Alliance. He would do his best to strengthen the Merchant Alliance and restore it to its former glory. In his position, he would do his own thing. Since he had accepted to be the leader of the Merchant Alliance, he would carry the Elemental Merchant Alliance on his shoulders and share honor and disgrace with them. Lin Feng's gaze fell to the front. Ling Er, who was wearing an evening gown, was like a princess. She was the most dazzling star in the crowd. She saw him coming and smiled sweetly. Lin Feng smiled and walked over. With her by his side, he felt very secure and satisfied. Chapter 199. Qinhuang Domain, Yi Family. Yenef. They had a huge mansion, and their influence spread throughout the entire Yi Royal City. This was one of the 3 major families in Qinhuang Domain and the 4th shareholder of Huaxia Bank. In Yi Royal City, the Yi family was the king. Countless martial venerables and even savage warriors were under the Yi family's command. However, the Yi family had suffered heavy losses in the Battle of Qinling Mountains. Especially the death of the second head, Jian Chou, had made Yi Sun lose a powerful arm. What? Yi Sun's eyes widened as he stood up abruptly. You mean, Lin Feng has appeared? Yi Sun could not hide his excitement. His eyes lit up. Lin Feng had disappeared for more than 2 months. Finally, he had appeared. Yes, Patriarch. The Yi family expert bowed and said, but his expression was somewhat unnatural. Ha, 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 ha. Yi Sun laughed wantonly and was overjoyed. The excitement and hatred in his eyes were undisguised. His fists cracked as his strength surged. Last time, he had the upper hand, but Lin Feng had escaped. He had even allowed Lin Feng to snatch the lightning pearl that was close at hand. Yi Sun was fuming with anger. Coupled with the death of his son, Irengia, the new and old grudges were irreconcilable. This kid must have improved his strength before he is willing to come out. Yi Sun sneered. Unfortunately, I did not waste these 2 months. Following Zi Kuei, Yi Sun had participated in battle after battle. Although he had not broken through to the Sea King realm, the thrilling battles had allowed his strength to improve rapidly. Battles were the best way to cultivate. He had comprehended the 3rd stage of the Boundless Mystic Art, the 2nd stage of the Boundless Mystic Art, and reached the 6th stage of the Heaven Realm. And this was only secondary. The 5th stage of the Fist Technique. Yi Sun was extremely confident. Now, he was comparable to a Sea King realm expert. Where is he? Yi Sun shouted. This. The Yi family expert looked troubled. Lin Feng is in Elemental City. Yi Sun frowned. Elemental City was the forbidden area of the Elemental Merchant Alliance. Damn it. Yi Sun's eyes were filled with anger. I thought this guy had the guts to come out. It turns out he is just a turtle shell to continue hiding. No, it doesn't seem to be the case, Patriarch. The Yi family expert looked at Yi Sun fearfully. Lin Feng is in Elemental City. He has officially been crowned the position of Merchant Alliance leader. His voice trailed off. Yi Sun's eyes widened as he stood in place. The Merchant Alliance master, Lin Feng. This lucky fellow who had obtained 2 lightning pearls was officially crowned. For a moment, a storm raged. Merchant Alliance leader? That's impossible. Lin Feng has the strength of the Merchant Alliance leader? Idiot! Have you forgotten that he snatched 2 lightning pearls by himself? He'll definitely absorb them all and break through his shackles in one go. How enviable. The Merchant Alliance leader. Moreover, it was an official coronation ceremony. Equivalent to an announcement to all powers. Lin Feng was a Sea King level powerhouse. As one of the 5 giants of ancient Huaxia, the Elemental Business Alliance's conferment was quite credible. Including Brahmin Manla, the Elemental Merchant Alliance has 2 Sea King level powerhouses? Wow, his strength has increased greatly. Before the 8 great families were still thinking about Lin Feng, but now they're probably going to be disappointed. He's not only a Sea King level powerhouse now, he's also backed by the Elemental Business Alliance. Acting so sneakily was even more suspicious. The Elemental Business Alliance's move not only made all those with ulterior motives wary, but also further solidified their position. Elemental City. Not snatching? Su Ke, Yi Fan, and the other 5, plus the new Merchant Alliance leader Xiao Rufeng, 7 pairs of eyes looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng, you're the new Merchant Alliance leader, and you need to establish your authority. Prove your strength. Su Ke advised. I understand. Lin Feng nodded. But there's no hurry. The competition for the lightning pearls is now white hot, and it's even more transparent. It's purely a competition of strength. Lin Feng said seriously, the military has snatched 2 lightning pearls in a row. If my guess is right, when the fight for the 7th lightning pearls begins, the other powers will launch an alliance to jointly attack the military. It's too messy. Plus, I don't have the confidence to snatch the lightning pearls from the jaws of so many Sea King level powerhouses. Lin Feng smiled. With his current strength, even if he used the 5th level of the 9 Dragon Scripture, he would only be a mid-level Sea King level powerhouse. More than enough, but not enough. He was no match for the military's Justice Marshal, Dragon-Killing Island Zikue, and Huaxia's First Banks Li Jixing. As for the others, there were at least 5 or 6 Sea King level powerhouses whose strength was on par with his. It's not necessarily a bad thing to keep a low profile. Jiang Wufeng coughed a few times. The chances are slim, Ding Yining said calmly. Seeing Lin Feng so frank, everyone could only smile helplessly. The Sea King level powerhouses were the main force in the competition for the lightning pearls. If Lin Feng was unwilling to snatch them, they would be like a sheet of loose sand and would have no chance at all. Actually, there's another reason. Lin Feng looked at the crowd. If Brahmin Manla is not dead, do you think he will not snatch the lightning pearls? Everyone's eyes narrowed. They were all experienced people, so they immediately understood. All the powerhouses in the Elemental Commerce Alliance went to snatch the lightning pearls except for Manla. Anyone would be suspicious, using seclusion as an excuse to cultivate. Lin Feng nodded. As long as we're lucky, we can hide it for a year and a half. By then, the situation will be completely different. Right now, he had to consider the additional factor of Brahmin sect. Not to mention Brahmin sect, who was ranked 6th among the top 10 powerhouses in the world. The other 7 Guardian Kings were enough to cause trouble for the Elemental Commerce Alliance. Lin Feng would not be afraid if he was alone, but with the Elemental Commerce Alliance, the situation was different. Everyone nodded in agreement. That makes sense. Yi Fan sighed, but he still liked to fight and challenge. The big picture is more important. Xiao Rufeng was completely on his son-in-law's side. Lin Feng looked at the crowd. There was helplessness and pity in their eyes, but they still longed for the lightning pearls. Who would want a holy treasure? Everyone, there's no need to be dejected. Lin Feng smiled. All this time, the Elemental Commerce Alliance had nurtured him and done so much for him. They even buried the Brahmin sect as a time bomb and left 3 Elemental Commerce Alliance leaders. How could he, as the Elemental Commerce Alliance leader, keep it to himself? Although we won't participate, it doesn't mean we don't have the lightning pearls. Lin Feng took out a lightning bead, instantly lighting up the entire hall. All the Merchant Alliance leaders stared with their eyes wide open, as if they were suffocating, shocked, and in disbelief. They had completely forgotten The Lin Feng in front of him had 2 lightning pearls by himself. This one still has 1/3 of its energy. Lin Feng casually put it on the table. I believe I don't need to say more about its effect. Everyone already knows. Simply put, who among you has the most hope to break through the shackles and become a Sea King level powerhouse? Then, use it first. Lin Feng smiled faintly. After a pause, his expression turned serious. Let them fight for the lightning pearls and consume each other's vitality. If the Elemental Commerce Alliance can have 1 or 2 more Elemental Commerce Alliance leaders in a month, then we will have a great advantage. Everyone looked at him in confusion. Lin Feng's eyes flickered slightly. In an instant, he pressed the crystal watch, and a huge map projection suddenly appeared. Lin Feng stood up. Actually, the birth of the lightning pearls is not the real holy treasure. There is still a hidden Qinling, a shocking secret. Chapter 200. The Map of the Qinling Mountains. At Mount Hua, Mount Taibai, and Mount Zhongnan. The 3 mountains form the main network of the Qinling Mountains. At this time, there were 6 red dots on the map projection. The 7th was a small red circle. It was the location calculated by the scientists of the Elemental Commerce Alliance, where the 7th Thunderbolt Pearl was born. Lin Feng swiped gently, and the map changed instantly. The original 6 red dots were connected, forming a huge arc fan until the 7th red dot. Whoosh, whoosh. The 8th and 9th red dots flashed. The red line connected again, and the huge arc fan condensed into a red circle, connecting the 3 main mountains of the Qinling Mountains. Everyone's eyes turned cold. At first, we all thought that the Thunderbolt Pearl was the root of this Qinling Mountains phenomenon. But that's not the case, Lin Feng said. Not only did the earthquake in the Qinling Mountains not stop weakening, but it's still increasing. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he pointed to the center of the map. If I'm not wrong, there will be a stronger holy treasure in the range of the Thunderbolt Pearl. Its value is likely to exceed the total value of the 9 ordinary Thunderbolt Pearls. The leaders of the Commerce Alliance were thoughtful. It's possible. Suka nodded. Whether it's true or not, we'll know when the 9th Thunderbolt Pearl is unearthed. Jiang Wufeng narrowed his eyes. Everyone agreed. Lin Feng continued. We can work together for the Thunderbolt Pearl, but the last one to be born will be at least a beginner holy treasure. The major forces will definitely fight for it. Instead of focusing on the Thunderbolt Pearl, it's better to wait for the exhaustion and target the last holy treasure. Of course, I don't recommend the Savage Wilderness experts to fight for it. There's still more than a month before the 9th Thunderbolt Pearl is unearthed. If the Commerce Alliance can have 1 or 2 leaders in the final battle for the holy treasure, maybe a new force will emerge. Ancient Huaxia had 24 Sea King level experts, but they were very scattered. The 8 major families and the 3 dojos each had 1. In addition to the 4 free Sea King level experts, there were already 15 of them. Lin Feng had always been good at calculations. As long as the Elemental Commerce Alliance could have 1 more Sea King level expert, they would be on par with the first bank of Huaxia, surpassing Dragon Killing Island, and second only to the military that had 3 marshals. 1 Sea King level and 2 Sea King level experts. There was a huge difference. Yi Fan? Lin Feng smiled. As expected, all the Merchant Alliance leaders recommended Yi Fan. Yi Fan was the best at fighting among the Merchant Alliance leaders. As for the other Merchant Alliance chiefs, they had been stuck in the Savage Lands for far too long. In addition, they had been dealing with the affairs of the Merchant Alliance for a long time. Thus, they no longer had the heart to fight for supremacy. For example, Island Master Jiang. According to him, he was already old. Yi Fan was the youngest and the most hardworking. Originally, he was recognized by the Merchant Alliance as the one most likely to reach the Sea King rank. Cultivate. Resources are very important. Lin Feng took the motorized corridor back to the outer city. To him, the Lightning Pearl was indeed very useful, but to the other business leaders, it was a priceless treasure. He was not a stingy person. Now that the Elemental Merchant Alliance had many things to do, as the leader of the Merchant Alliance, he was duty-bound. Moreover, with the financial resources of the Elemental Business Alliance, how could they let him suffer losses out of his own pocket? Merchant Alliance Leader. You have unlimited access to all the resources in the inner city. To assist in cultivation. Lin Feng smiled. Outer city. Oh. Lin Feng was slightly startled. Outside the small bungalow, 10 martial saints wearing elemental armor and Geno armor stood upright. A short-haired man wearing an A-class elemental armor was guarding around. When they saw him, their eyes lit up and 2 of them came forward to greet him. Merchant Alliance Leader. The short-haired man bowed. Lin Feng glanced at the short-haired man. Then he glanced at the martial saints and instantly understood. They seemed to be guards sent by the Merchant Alliance. You are? Lin Feng asked. And Fun. The short-haired man stood up straight and looked excited. And as in safety, fun as in fighting. I am your first guard captain. First guard captain? Lin Feng smiled. Yes. And Fun's eyes lit up and he was very excited. Commander of the first guard team, mainly responsible for the safety of your house. Lin Feng nodded. Previously, Merchant Alliance Leader Su asked him if he wanted to move into the inner city, but he refused. After all, it was too lonely for his mother and sister to live in the inner city. He didn't expect a guard team to appear in the blink of an eye. The second guard captain is my sister, and she's responsible for the safety of Madam and Mississippi, and Fun's eyes lit up. My sister and I are very honored to stand out from all the deacons and become the youngest guard captain in the history of the Merchant Alliance. Please take care of us in the future. Stand out from all the deacons? Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Okay, I'll have to trouble you in the future. Lin Feng nodded. Since the Merchant Alliance meant well, he wouldn't refuse. Besides, there were guards to protect his mother and sister. Indeed, he would feel more at ease. He entered the house. Oh, Lin Feng was startled. The large living room was almost full. There were all kinds of gift boxes, jades, emeralds, and gold agates. The house was colorful. His sister, Yuer, was happily opening the gifts. When she saw him, she immediately ran over. Brother, this is... Lin Feng pointed at the pile of gifts. The neighbors gave them to us. We rejected them a few times, but the more we rejected, the more gifts they gave us. Yuer mumbled helplessly and glanced at her mother behind her. Lin Feng nodded. He understood immediately. During the ceremony, he was the one giving out the red packets. Since they dared to invite him, the gifts were sent here. When you rejected them, they thought the gifts weren't generous enough, Lin Feng said with a smile. His mother, Jiru Hua, said gently, and she said this is the Merchant Alliance's tradition, so I accepted them. Lin Feng smiled. His gaze landed on the table. There were 10 dishes and 1 soup. The aroma was pleasant, like pieces of art. Mom, isn't this too sumptuous? It's not me, Jiru Hua said with a smile. Lin Feng was stunned. Ah, you're jumped up, overjoyed. Brother, let's eat. These dishes were made by the world's best 7-star chefs. I heard from Sister and she that whatever we want to eat in the future, they will send it over immediately. Lin Feng smiled. That was true. The guards led by 2 wild-level experts were equipped. What was a 7-star chef to them? Be careful not to get fat, Lin Feng chided with a smile. It was a joyous and harmonious atmosphere. Lin Feng could be considered to have eaten a meal. In Qinling, every meal consisted of compressed biscuits. However, now was not the time to enjoy. A comfortable life would only make one lose their fighting spirit, especially for Lin Feng. The current him, there were still too many things left to do. Becoming the Merchant Alliance's chief was just the beginning. Mom, can you tell me now? Lin Feng looked at his mother with burning eyes. Who captured Big Brother? Now, where is he? Lin Feng clenched his fists tightly. The eldest brother was like a father. Big Brother was extremely important to him. As long as Big Brother was still alive, he would save Big Brother even if he had to risk his life. Chapter 201. Genre, he should be trapped on Dragon Killing Island. Lin Feng was stunned when he heard Ji Ruhua's voice. Dragon Killing Island. That was an unexpected answer. As far as he knew, it was the Z family that destroyed the Ji family during the ancient martial era. At that time, there was no Dragon Killing Island. The owner of Dragon Killing Island betrayed the Z family after they became the most powerful family in ancient Huaxia. He left ancient Huaxia and built Dragon Killing Island with his own bloodline. How could it be? Feng, or you might have misunderstood. Ji Ruhua's eyes seemed to see through everything. It was indeed the Z family that destroyed the Ji family. However, this is a battle between kings. It's for the public, not for personal reasons. Ji Ruhua sighed. In the last era, 1,000 years ago, the ancestor of the Ji family, Ji Fan, invaded Zhaoga to destroy the Shang dynasty and build Western Zhou. During the ancient martial era, the Z family and the Ji family were the two most powerful families. It was either one of us who died. The Ji family's defeat was due to fate. We have no one to blame. If the Z family of the Shang dynasty had been defeated that day, the Ji family would have killed them too. Lin Feng listened and nodded. The ancient martial era was like the Warring States period. Heroes rose together. The Z family wanted to destroy the Ji family, and the Ji family wanted to destroy the Z family. It was like a fair fight. If one's skills were inferior, one could only blame himself for not being strong enough. There are still dozens of people in the Ji family, Ji Ruhua said softly. There are many descendants of the Ji family who live in seclusion. The Z family of the Shang dynasty knows about them, but they didn't kill them all. It's all thanks to the true martial emperor. Ji Ruhua looked at Lin Feng and said softly, "Don't blame the wrong person. The true martial emperor is a true hero. Even if the Ji family and the Z family have a feud, he deserves respect, especially at the beginning of the warring era. If not for the true martial emperor guarding ancient Huaxia, I'm afraid we would have become slaves of a fallen country." Lin Feng nodded. The true martial emperor's name was unshakable in ancient Huaxia. Since young, he had grown up listening to the story of the true martial emperor and admired him greatly. One day, he also wanted to become a great hero of indomitable spirit. So, the one who killed my father and seized the second half of the Nine-Dragon scripture was not from the Shang dynasty? Lin Feng came to a sudden realization. Of course not. Ji Ruhua shook her head. The Yinshang family is as famous as my Ji family. Not only do they have the Super Heaven-class Heart Sutra, the Book of the Chaos, they also obtained the Nine-Yang Manual during the ancient martial era. Together with the innate Qinquan skill, they monopolize 3 Super Heaven-class Heart Sutras. What use do they have for the Nine Dragons Manual? Lin Feng took a deep breath. The house of the Shang dynasty. They were indeed worthy of being the most powerful family in China. The Elemental Merchant Alliance only had 2 Heaven Rank Heart Mantras, while the Yinshang family had 3 Super Heaven Rank Heart Mantras. The difference between the two families was huge. So, Dragon Killing Island did all of this. Lin Feng's eyes were sharp. Ji Ruhua frowned and said, "The Lord of Dragon Killing Island betrayed his family and built Dragon Killing Island with the Japanese who survived the extinction. Even though he learned the Book of the Chaos, he could not pass it down as an inherited Heart Sutra because of the true Emperor's order. Therefore, he has been searching for other Super Heaven-class Heart Sutras." Damn it! Lin Feng clenched his fists. His father's killer. It was the Z family of Dragon Killing Island, not the Yinshang family. His brother was also imprisoned on Dragon Killing Island. "Don't be rash," Ji Ruhua said softly. "A Sea King can only protect himself. Although the Lord of Dragon Killing Island barely made it into the top 10 in the world. But to kill you is a piece of cake." Ji Ruhua's eyes flashed as she said, "Secretly accumulate strength and become the Lord of the Merchant Alliance. This will only benefit you." "I understand." Lin Feng's eyes glinted. The Elemental Merchant Alliance and Dragon Killing Island have been fighting both openly and secretly. I heard from Lord Jiang that the previous 2 Lords of the Merchant Alliance were probably killed by Dragon Killing Island. That's great. I will take revenge for both public and private grudges. His goal was clear. Lin Feng tried his best to suppress his hatred for the Dragon Killing Island. He would not be rash and impulsive. If he did not have enough strength to save his brother, he would only bury his hopes. He was still very young and was already at the savage level. When he broke through and became a Sea King, his strength would most likely be comparable to a legend-level expert. It would not be too late to deal with the Lord of Dragon-killing Island then. Right now, cultivation was the most important. If I can get the sacred treasure of Qinling this time, I will be like a tiger that has grown wings. My strength will increase by another level. Lin Feng thought to himself. The sacred treasure was very important to him. Target, January 8th, when the 9th lightning pearl was unearthed. Although he did not know when the real sacred treasure would appear, there was no doubt that it would appear before January 8th. The real sacred treasure could only appear at any time after all 9 lightning pearls appeared. Heaven Tier Mental Cultivation Technique. Lin Feng entered the inner city. There was no need. Although the Elemental Merchant Alliance had 2 sets of Heaven Tier Mental Cultivation Techniques, the best one was only Heaven Tier 6. The 5th level of the 9 Dragon Scripture was already Heaven Tier 5. There was a need to hide his identity, but it was not necessary. It would take at least a month to recultivate and comprehend a Heaven Tier 6 mental cultivation technique. Now is a race against time. If he did this, it would be too wasteful. It is difficult to improve the realm of the Saber technique. Even if I reach the peak of the 5th realm from small mastery, the increase in strength will not be too great. I will work on other aspects. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. In the entire ancient Huaxia, there were only 5 Sea King level experts who were stronger than him. Although he had only met Li Jixing from the Li Tang family once, his character was not bad. The Marshal of Justice from the military was the closest to him among the 5. The Sea King level expert, Mo Yaoi. The real Martial Dojo by Jia. Mo Yaoi's whereabouts are erratic. The real Martial Dojo did not participate in this battle for the sacred treasure. The biggest threat is only him. Dragon Killing Island, Zikuei. Lin Feng was very clear. 1 month later, there would be a real battle. Let's start from the genetic technology building. The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng had arrived at his destination. It was an oval-shaped technological fortress. The silver-white tempered glass reflected the light from the sky. Lin Feng's identity was confirmed. He entered instantly. 2nd floor. Lin Feng stepped on the disc. Under the voice control mode, the disc screen flickered with green light and stopped. Lin Feng walked in. The silver-colored alloy floor was spotless, and a huge floor-to-ceiling glass reflected the thousands of square meters of space on the 2nd floor. This place was like a chemistry laboratory. Bottles were neatly arranged, densely packed. There were at least 100,000 bottles. High-grade gene fluid. Supreme-grade gene fluid. Oh, I got it. Spirit power liquid. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. A-grade spirit power liquid was produced in Huaxia. It was said that 1 bottle of A-grade spirit power liquid could only be extracted from 10,000 bottles of A-grade spirit power liquid. But here, take 1,000 bottles first. Lin Feng did not hesitate. With a wave of his hand, all the A-grade spirit power liquid on one of the shelves were emptied. I forgot about the A-grade spirit power space cabin. Lin Feng took it and turned to leave. The next destination is, yes, Heaven Materials Garden. Chapter 202. A bottle of Supreme Geno Fluid costs 3 gold coins. A bottle of Elixir of Spiritual Power costs 10,000 gold coins. 10,000 bottles of Supreme Geno Fluid for 1 bottle of Elixir of Spiritual Power. Lin Feng smiled. What a good lie. But what could he do? The Elixir of Spiritual Power was only owned by the country. Even if he sold it for 50,000 gold coins a bottle, someone would buy it. This was a monopoly, but at the same time, the Elemental Merchant Alliance was also an expert in this field. They used to be the richest man in the world, and now they were one of the 3 biggest consortiums in the world. Money was never a problem for the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng looked at the building in front of him that looked like a jungle fortress. His nose moved slightly, and he could vaguely feel the rich spirit qi in the air. His identity was confirmed. Lin Feng entered. Heaven Materials Garden. It was divided into upper, middle, and lower zones. The density of spirit qi was different and they were distributed in a trapezoidal shape. It was completely enclosed. In the middle of the three zones was an energy channel with a diameter of 10 meters. It was used to convert energy to supply the heaven materials and earth treasures. The first level of the lower zone was for spirit fruits. It had the largest area, but it required the least amount of energy. Most of them were ripe spirit fruits, but there was a small portion that was not. Some were in the water, some were in the soil, and some were placed on metal shelves. Many screens were erected. The main purpose of the Heaven Materials and Earth Treasure Garden was to store, not cultivate. Cultivating required a lot of manpower and resources, as well as a lot of money. In the wildlands, the sea was endless, and there were many Heaven Materials and Earth Treasures. There was no need to cultivate them. On the second level, the area of the middle zone was reduced by half. Earth Treasure Level. The cheapest one costs more than 1,000,000 gold coins. The rarest and most precious ones cost more than 50 million gold coins. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. In the middle zone, there were at least 100 types. Earth Purple Dew. Lin Feng focused his eyes. 15 small white jade bottles stored the Earth Purple Dew were placed on the metal surface of the bottles. The screens showed the uses of the Earth Purple Dew clearly. Earth Purple Dew, Supreme Earth Treasure Level. Every drop can activate 10% of the Earth Soul. Used before the Earth Soul awakens. The famous Great Earth Purple Spirit Dew. The auction price was at least over 10 million gold coins. Everyone knew that when the soul of the Earth reached 5%, one would be able to awaken it. This was an extremely important threshold for a savage-level expert. Once the soul of the Earth was awakened, the Earth Purple Spirit Dew would lose its effect. It's useless to me, but it's useful to Ling and my younger sister, Lin Feng said softly. The sooner he awakened the soul of the earth, the faster his body would improve. Moreover, Ling had already awakened her innate talent spirit. If she also awakened the spirit of the earth, her cultivation speed would be greatly increased like his. Lin Feng smiled. Naturally, he wouldn't be polite. To the Elemental Business Alliance, money was just a number. It's a pity that I haven't found anything similar to the Great Earth Purple Dew. It's a treasure that can awaken innate talents. Lin Feng glanced at the central garden and memorized many spirit fruits and herbs. Then he went to the top floor. Let's look at the heaven-level treasures first. Which ones are suitable? I don't want to repeat them. Resources were very important. Natural treasures were most suitable for Savage Realm experts. It was a heavenly treasure. 11 pieces. Each of them was worth hundreds of millions of gold coins. Any one of them was enough to cause a sensation in the entire ancient Huaxia. The best spirit fruits and herbs below holy treasures. Some special heaven-level treasures. They can even be compared to ordinary holy treasures. For example, this Berserk Poppy Fruit. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. It was an extremely ugly fruit, but it had a shocking effect. After eating it, one's strength and body strength will increase dramatically. Savage Realm will increase by 100%. Sea King Realm will increase by 50%. The stronger one's body is, the smaller the effect. The duration depends on one's physique. It's about 10 to 30 minutes. There are huge side effects. If one's physique hasn't reached the Savage Realm, one will explode and die. Use with caution. Purple Cloud Spiritual Dew. Purple Cloud Spiritual Flower turns fog into dew. 1 drop every 5 years. Rub it over the whole body. It can increase one's spirit chi perception. 1 drop will turn trash into ordinary. 3 drops will turn ordinary into excellent. 10 drops will turn excellent into genius. Lin Feng sighed. It was indeed a heaven-level treasure. Its effect was very strong. There were 11 pieces, and each of them was a rare treasure. Lin Feng considered carefully. Although he could take all 11 pieces, it would be too much. They were different from Earth treasures. Earth treasures could be bought with money, so they didn't matter to the Elemental Business Alliance. But heaven-level treasures could make people fight over them. They were priceless. Lin Feng was not a stingy person, nor was he a greedy person. I'll take these too. Lin Feng finally made a decision. He pressed the button, and the mechanical arm was activated. Mid-level, heaven level, earth 5-color Ganoderma. The low level is 3-color, the mid-level is 5-color, and the high level is 7-color. If eaten directly, the Ganoderma's colorful light will cover the soul of the earth and enhance the absorption of spirit chi. It can only be used by those above the 4th stage of the soul of the earth. High-level, heaven level, hidden eagle thunder veins. With the 1,000-meter hidden eagle giant tree, the power of thunder is condensed and quenched to enhance absolute strength. Savage realm can only bear 50% of the effect. Sea King realm can absorb all the thunder veins. The enhancement effect varies from person to person. It was hard to choose, but for Lin Feng, these two things were the most helpful at the moment. Although they were not as good as the heaven-level wild poppy fruit, they were more practical. The earth 5-color Ganoderma could enhance the speed of cultivation, and the hidden eagle thunder veins could enhance combat strength. One internal and one external, they complemented each other. I'll take some earth-level treasures that can enhance physical fitness and increase the soul of the earth. With the earth 5-color Ganoderma and the hidden eagle thunder veins. I'll see you in a month. The Real Martial Arts Hall. Second brother, have you contacted Master? Bai Jie was wearing a monk's robe, and there were 9 monk scars on his head. In the hall, he looked very awkward. No, Ziyushu was like his name. He was very handsome. He was now the most talented rising star of the Z family, and his strength in the Real Martial Arts Hall was second only to eldest brother Bai Jie. Ziyushu said, Master left without saying goodbye that day. There must be something important. It's normal that we can't contact him for the time being. Bai Jie took out a drumstick from somewhere and bit into it. It's so boring. I heard that the Qinling Mountains are having fun. Ziyushu said, without Master's permission, we can't participate. He picked up the wine pot with one hand and gulped it down. Bai Jie took another big bite of the drumstick and mumbled, Master, I can't find him every time. Ziyushu smiled, but his chest suddenly sank and his expression changed slightly. His right eye kept twitching as he looked into the distance. Ziyushu frowned and pressed his hand on his chest, feeling extremely uneasy. Chapter 203. Neo Martial Art Extreme Space. Lin Feng's third destination, which was also the goal he had set early on. Neo Martial Art, Titanium Body. My physical fitness should be at the level of a beginner Sea King. If I use the second layer of the super heavy titanium domain, I will be comparable to an intermediate Sea King. Lin Feng knew very well that most of the savage level powerhouses had already activated the soul of the earth, and the Sea King level powerhouse's soul of the earth was at the 5th stage. Fortunately, his soul of the earth awakened early. Compared to the savage level warriors who had only activated the soul of the earth, he had already begun to strengthen his body from the 1st stage. The 2nd stage, 3rd stage, and 4th stage strengthened his body in stages, using the soul of the earth to the extreme. On the other hand, the savage-level warriors who had only activated the soul of the earth could strengthen 4 stages at once with the body of a peak martial honorable. The difference between them was self-evident. Moreover, with the spiritual power in his body and the power of thunder and lightning from the 3 thunder and lightning pearls, he could have a physical fitness comparable to a beginner Sea King when he was in the savage level. As long as I cultivate the 1st layer of the titanium body, my physical fitness will increase by 50%. My body alone is comparable to an intermediate Sea King powerhouse. If I use the 2nd layer of the super heavy titanium domain, I can compete with an advanced Sea King powerhouse. And if the soul of the earth could be upgraded to the 5th stage, Lin Feng walked into the extreme space, his eyes burning. His goal was Captain Dark Wind Wuan. He wanted his body to reach the peak of Sea King rank before January 8th. Spiritual Power Space Cabin. The spiritual power liquid turned into a mist, enveloping his body. Lin Feng sat cross-legged, using the Heartless Spectrum to accelerate the absorption of spiritual power. 3rd stage. The absorption of the spiritual power liquid will save at least 80% of the time. Lin Feng could sense it clearly. The spiritual power was divided into 3 parts. One part was absorbed by the innate soul to nourish and strengthen the ball of light in the sea of consciousness. One part was absorbed by the brain to increase the breadth of the brain, and one part was absorbed by the titanium heart. It turned into the power of titanium and returned from the essence to strengthen the body. Now that my innate soul is at the fourth stage, I can cultivate the fourth stage of the heartless spectrum. I will find a chance to ask the Justice Marshal if I can get the second part of the heartless spectrum. Lin Feng thought. The third level of the second part of the heartless spectrum belonged to the country. Absorb. With the assistance of the Heart Sutra, the absorption speed was extremely fast. In less than 10 minutes, a bottle of spiritual energy liquid had been completely absorbed by Lin Feng. After 5 bottles in a row, his body felt a little full. After the 10th bottle, his body was almost full. Click, the hatch opened. Lin Feng slowly stepped out of the space cabin. Only an hour? Lin Feng glanced at his crystal watch. The time taken was much shorter than he had expected. If it was a normal Geno warrior, it would take at least 6 hours. 12 bottles of elixir of spiritual power. Lin Feng was secretly surprised. His body's absorption rate was much higher than he had expected. However, no matter what he said now, this was also the strength of a Sea King. A bottle of elixir of spiritual power costs 100,000 gold coins. Even with a discount, it's still 80,000 gold coins. I've only absorbed 1,000,000 gold coins this time. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't feel much about it. It was indeed much more convenient for him to become the Merchant Alliance leader. At the very least, anything that could be solved with money would no longer be a problem. The elixir of spiritual power could be absorbed again, strengthening the talent soul and increasing the mind expanse. But a saturated body couldn't increase it, so there was no need. In fact, for Lin Feng, absorbing the elixir of spiritual power was just a matter of convenience, because the body needed a lot of time to digest the elixir of spiritual power. It would take at least a day and a half, and at most a few days. The energy of the elixir of spiritual power was much stronger than that of the super Geno fluid. During this time, he could just cultivate titanium grade body. As the only titanium grade martial art, it was in line with the strongest aspect of titanium, the strengthening system. Titanium grade body was very strong. Heaven grade material, berserk poppy fruit. After consumption, it can only increase a Sea King's body by 50%. And it can only last for 10 to 30 minutes. There are also huge side effects. But as long as the power of titanium is not exhausted, the titanium grade body can be maintained. Activate. Extreme titanium space. Lin Feng entered. The super brain's space of consciousness simulated. This was a virtual space of consciousness. The surroundings were filled with rich titanium grade elements, enveloping the whole body. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He could sense the titanium element very clearly. The titanium heart was operating at the limit. His body didn't need to react at all, and the power of titanium had already condensed. 5th level condense. Swish. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. All over his body, the power of titanium quickly spread. The super brain screen in front of him reflected the transparent state of his body. The distribution of the titanium element in his body was very clear. It was constantly circulating. With the help of spiritual power, Lin Feng maintained his body in a stable state. Like a container, a carrier. To use the titanium grade body, the first step was to have perfect control of the titanium element. Every part of the body and meridians had to have the same amount of titanium element. Otherwise, it would be impossible to form a perfect whole. For example, the second level of the super heavy titanium domain. Once used, it was inseparable and didn't need to be distracted to control it. The titanium grade body was the same. It seemed the simplest step, but it was the most basic and also the most difficult step. It was like putting eggs into a basket and arranging them neatly. And then, when the basket was truly lifted, there was no need to move the eggs. Rise! Lin Feng clenched his fist and shouted. His body flickered as he looked at the super brain screen in front of him like a mirror. Pa! 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 His body felt like it was about to explode. Lin Feng tightly pursed his lips. Spiritual power spread throughout his body, condensing the titanium element. Sweat seeped out of his forehead. He couldn't make any mistakes in every detail. This was far more difficult than the second level of the super-heavy titanium domain. A true titanium-grade martial art. Wah! With the soul essence as the center, threads of light flickered. Like fireworks, the titanium element in his body was awakened. Lin Feng clenched his teeth and clearly sensed his body. A huge force spontaneously arose. His body emitted rays of bright light, like a beast awakening. Roar! Lin Feng opened his eyes wide. His spiritual power was completely condensed. His control of the titanium element was extremely precise. The titanium element in his body instantly erupted, forming a perfect whole. Crack! Crack! His body changed dramatically. His muscles expanded and bulged, and his blood vessels condensed. Lin Feng's eyes were resolute. Clenching his fists, Lin Feng felt a majestic force madly surge out. Throughout his body, the titanium element in his body roared like a huge dragon. Pung! White light bloomed all over his body. Lin Feng looked at his fists, feeling the surging power. He looked at himself on the superbrain screen. His body was emitting a layer of faint white light. He didn't need to control it. With the titanium core as the source, the titanium element spread throughout his body. As long as the titanium element wasn't exhausted, then the titanium gray body could exist forever. Finally, I succeeded. Lin Feng revealed a smile. Chapter 204. He had been cultivating the titanium gray body for a long time. However, cultivating in the Qinling Mountains consumed a lot of titanium power, and there was no such cultivation environment. Resources were very important. In the titanium elemental space, the perception of titanium power was clearer and easier to control. Even if he didn't use spirit power, Lin Feng could reach the 5th level of condensation in the titanium elemental space. It was even easier to supplement it with spirit power. The precise control of elemental power was the foundation of cultivating elemental martial arts. Through the superbrain's fluorescent screen, the accurate big data measurements made Lin Feng clearly understand where his mistakes were. He kept adjusting, correcting, and adjusting. Success was inevitable. However, this was only the first step. Second step, in the titanium elemental space, there is no need for any adjustments. Accurately use the titanium gray body. Third step, leave the titanium elemental space and use the titanium gray body. Fourth step, use it in reality. Lin Feng's goal was very clear. Everything was difficult at the beginning. In the cultivation of the thoughtless mantra, the first success was the most crucial. After that, it was to skillfully use it. As long as he put in continuous effort, he would be able to master it. For Lin Feng, this was what he was best at. Before starting this second step, it's time to absorb the spirit power liquid again. Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Lin Feng was cultivating in an orderly manner. The Elemental Merchant Alliance was also operating steadily, like a machine. Having an additional alliance leader didn't change much for the Elemental Merchant Alliance. In itself, the role of the alliance leader was to stabilize the sea. He only needed to cultivate and cultivate. The Elemental Merchant Alliance didn't lack merchants or executors. They only needed a true powerhouse. Looking at the 5 giants, and even the entire ancient Huaxia, no one could compare to the Elemental Merchant Alliance in terms of cultivating newcomers. They cast a wide net and caught more fish. The Elemental Merchant Alliance's efforts were finally rewarded. Lin Feng's growth was like the ripening of a fruit. Often, the first ripe fruit would lead to the ripening of the fruits next to it. Yi Fan, this genius powerhouse, who the Elemental Merchant Alliance had high hopes for, was Lin Feng's previous rookie record holder on the floating elemental island. In just 2 days, he broke through the bottleneck and officially became a Sea King-level powerhouse. Elemental Merchant Alliance, the second alliance leader. However, he did not hold a ceremony to become the Merchant Alliance leader. After discussing with the other Merchant Alliance leaders, Yi Fan chose to go into hibernation. A high-level meeting was held once again. This time, The Merchant Alliance leaders no longer had a solemn look on their faces, nor did they look worried. With Yi Fan's breakthrough and Lin Feng's help, the Elemental Commerce Alliance bounced back from the bottom of the valley. Their shaky position instantly stabilized. Originally, the Elemental Business Alliance didn't lack anything. They didn't lack money or manpower, and there were experts at every level. Among the 5 magnates, this was the only training system that was comparable to the military's. The difference was that the military had the support of the country and had stronger mental and martial arts skills. The Elemental Business Alliance, on the other hand, had a lot of money. There's still a lot of energy left in the Lightning Pearl, Yi Fan said. Lin Feng looked at the Thunderbolt Pearl and was slightly surprised. Yi Fan had only consumed a third of its energy. With his aptitude and ability, even without the Lightning Pearl, he believed that it wouldn't take long. He would definitely be able to make a breakthrough. Right now, it was just a slight catalyst. Has everyone made a decision? Lin Feng asked. He looked at the remaining 5 Merchant Alliance leaders and Island Master Jiang. Su Ku, Ding Yining, Gu Demo, and Yin Qing. According to the original plan, if there was still energy left in the Lightning Pearl, the 5 of them would absorb it and break through. As for his future father-in-law, Xia Rufeng, he was the Merchant Alliance leader in name, but in reality, he was only an envoy. I don't need it. Island Master Jiang narrowed his eyes. Someone has to take care of the Merchant Alliance's affairs, Su Ku said with a smile. He was in charge of the complicated affairs of the Merchant Alliance. Yes. Ding Yining also expressed her opinion. She was experienced and concise. She was originally assisting Su Ku in managing the Merchant Alliance's affairs. After Gu Yong left, she was in charge of finance, showing the style of a strong woman. Everyone looked at Gu Demo and Yin Qing. Why don't you do it, old Gu? Yin Qing said. You're younger than me, Gu Demo said. Yin Qing said helplessly. You call me young? I'm already in my 40s. Everyone smiled. The two pushed back and forth and couldn't come to a conclusion for a long time. Actually, I have a suggestion, Lin Feng suddenly said. Everyone looked over. Yi Fan's eyes also flashed. Let's hear it, Island Master Jiang said. Lin Feng looked at Yin Qing and Gu Demo and said with a smile, Uncle Gu and Uncle Yin don't want to compete, so there's no need to force it. Why don't we find a talented middle savage expert and put in more effort to nurture them? Yin Qing and Gu Demo sighed in relief when they heard this. They slapped the table and said, Good suggestion. Both of them were quite aggressive when they were young, but they had been stuck at the high savage expert level for too long. Plus, they had to deal with the Merchant Alliance's affairs all year round. They had long since lost the desire to compete. But it will take a long time to raise a middle savage expert to the high savage expert. Suka frowned slightly. Old Su, there's no need to rush, Island Master Jiang said with a smile. The Merchant Alliance has 2 Sea King level experts now. It's enough for now. Everyone nodded. Indeed, there was no need to compete. Not necessarily. Lin Feng blinked his eyes. If you're a savage intermediate rank expert with an innate talent soul, your strength will soar rapidly. Brother Lin is right, Yi Fan said with a smile. We have a perfect example here. Everyone was stunned. Ding Yining's beautiful eyes flashed. Yi Fan, you mean awaken the earth soul, Yi Fan said and looked at Lin Feng. Like Brother Lin, cultivate the earth soul and talent soul at the same time. Lin Feng smiled. The Merchant Alliance has the earth purple spirit dew. If a middle savage expert with a talent soul consumes it, he will awaken the earth soul. Lin Feng's eyes brightened. The improvement in the first 3 stages is very fast, including the mind expanse. As long as you don't hesitate to nurture him, he will soon reach the high savage expert level. Moreover, his strength will be impressive. Lin Feng smiled. He thought of this method when he let Ling consume the earth purple spirit dew. Ling also cultivated 2 great souls at the same time. Everyone's eyes lit up. I have an excellent candidate here. Yi Fan activated his super brain and opened the Merchant Alliance's information page. Instantly, the image of a young man in black appeared. There was a long scar at the corner of his left eye. He was in his early 20s and had a cynical smile. Han Fei, super genius, 21 years old, Yi Fan said. The Elemental Merchant Alliance's strength was steadily increasing. Lin Feng was the same. On the fourth day of the Neo Martial Art Extreme Space, he completed the second step of the Titanium Gray Body. On the seventh day, he completed the third step, January 13th. It was a very ordinary day, but it had a different meaning at this moment. The day the seventh lightning pearl was unearthed. Beep! Lin Feng walked out of the spiritual space cabin. He glanced at the crystal watch and frowned. As expected, the seventh lightning pearl has finally fallen. Li Jixing, Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He clearly remembered the young man in luxurious clothes he met at Huashan. He had unfathomable strength. Soon, I will catch up to you. Lin Feng clenched his fist. Second update, to be continued. Chapter 205. Pressure, Motivation. The Heart of Challenge. Lin Feng was impressed by Li Jixing's ability to obtain the lightning pearl from a group of demons. The difficulty of obtaining the lightning pearl was 1,000 times more difficult than his. Luck was infinitely compressed. He could only rely on his ability. With Li Jixing as his target, Lin Feng finally displayed the titanium gray body for the first time in reality. That feeling was like waiting until the clouds parted to see the moon. It was extremely comfortable. He can even gain the upper hand in a battle with the Justice Marshal. Li Jixing is really strong. Lin Feng was impressed. The twin stars of Huaxia, a true genius. He was the same as himself. They were both 18 years old. January 15th. Ling Er has also broken through to the martial venerable level. Lin Feng was gratified. Ling Er's Soul of the Earth talent was indeed not very good. Han Fei, the savage intermediate elite recommended by Yi Fan, only needed 1 drop of Earth Purple due to successfully awaken the Soul of the Earth. But Ling Er used 2 drops of Earth Purple due to awaken it. 2 drops of Earth Purple due had awakened 0% of the Soul of the Earth. However, an inch short was an inch long. Ling Er's talent was quite strong. She had such strength at the age of 16. It was already very impressive. Maybe when Ling Er is 18 years old, her strength will be better than mine. Lin Feng smiled. His eyes lit up. Bang! Lin Feng's body suddenly exploded. His muscles expanded and his strength surged, emitting a faint white light. Lin Feng clenched his fists. Thick titanium power condensed. His expression was calm. The first level of the titanium gray body is no longer a problem. It's time for the second stage of cultivation. Cultivate the second level of the titanium gray body. Lin Feng was not confident even if he had 2 more months, let alone half a month. He had set the goal long ago. There were 2 goals. One was to learn the first level of the titanium gray body. The other was the Soul of the Earth. Ta! The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng leaped down and raised his head to look ahead. It was a huge pyramid that was 100 meters tall, shining with a golden luster. It was a magnificent sight. Looking at this huge building, it was as if he had arrived at a boundless desert. In the ancient country of Egypt, the pyramids were as continuous as mountains, containing astonishing energy. A man-made pyramid. Lin Feng walked over. He was secretly surprised. The Elemental Commerce Alliance was truly impressive. They had actually managed to create an artificial pyramid that mimicked the sacred relic pyramid. In the Westlake world, there is a man-made wilderness. There is a man-made pyramid here. Lin Feng smiled. Previously, he had asked Alliance leader Su Shang. This man-made pyramid was much more advanced than the pyramid structure of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, but it was still a distance away from the small pyramids of Egypt, let alone the pyramid of the sacred remains. It was purely a high imitation. Even so, this place is also a rare holy land for cultivation. Identity confirmed. Step. Lin Feng entered. 1 layer after another. Unlike what he had imagined, Lin Feng seemed to have walked into a labyrinth. Spiral after spiral, the bottom could not be seen. The top of the pyramid was only the surface layer. The real position was downward. Energy gathered from the top of the pyramid through the energy beam. It reached the real bottom of the pyramid. The air has become thinner, Lin Feng muttered. He had thought that even if the man-made pyramid was different from the underground structure of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum, the difference would not be too big. But the actual situation, it was beyond his expectations. More advanced elemental technology. The first level is already comparable to the second underground level of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. Here, the energy concentration is at least 3 times higher. Lin Feng activated his spiritual force. The rotation of the talent soul in his sea of consciousness was like a heart supplying nutrients to his body. The oxygen was getting less and less, and even the water in the air was being sucked dry. Spiritual force protected his whole body. Lin Feng continued to walk down the stairs. The third level. Oh! Lin Feng caught a glimpse of 2 figures. One was standing, clenching his fists, and his veins were exposed. He had an unyielding short black hair and a long scar at the corner of his left eye. Like him, he had awakened his talent soul. He could clearly feel the majestic spiritual force. He seemed to be in pain, but he was stubbornly holding on. The other person was sitting cross-legged. Pure tungsten power flashed outside his body. He was cultivating calmly. It was Yi Fan. He should be Han Fei. Lin Feng instantly judged. He had seen his photo before. Other than the scientists, only the Chamber of Commerce could enter the central city. He had never seen this black-haired young man before. He must be the one who had been recommended by Yi Fan to enter the central city to cultivate. Han Fei. Compared to him, Han Fei's spiritual force was purer and stronger. I'm afraid it's close to the 5th stage. Lin Feng thought. He did not stay and continued to walk to the 4th level. Hua, extremely strong pressure, extremely thin air. The lower he went, the stronger the energy of the planet. Although there was still a 5th level, Lin Feng did not go deeper. He could not bear the intensity of cultivation. It was like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. The 4th level's energy intensity is 3 times higher than the 3rd level. 30 times in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. If he cultivated here, even if he only used the 9-dragon scripture, he would be able to become a sea king within a year. The energy was abnormally strong. Hua Lin Feng closed his eyes. The energy of the planet surged into his body. It was as if he had returned to the energy space in the Qin Emperor's mausoleum to cultivate, but it was completely different. The energy intensity of the planet here was far higher than that of the Qin Emperor's mausoleum. He closed his eyes. His talent soul and earth soul were extremely excited and absorbed quickly. His body was also strengthened. His mind expanse had opened up an unknown territory. Hua Lin Feng took out a slender spiritual object that was shaped like a ginseng. It contained a strong power of thunder and lightning, giving people a strong feeling. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. It was a high-grade heavenly material, the crouching eagle thunder web tendon. It was a 1,000-meter crouching eagle tree. The power of thunder was condensed and tempered, increasing the absolute power. Only a sea king could absorb it. Lin Feng did not hesitate and swallowed it. He could only use the crouching eagle thunderweb tendon to maximize its effect. In an instant, Lin Feng's eyes widened. A wild power entered the meridians of his arms like 2 dragons. Chi! The surging power of thunder and lightning gathered the violent energy. Lin Feng clenched his fists. His veins bulged, and his muscles twitched. The thunder-like energy tempered the muscles and meridians in his arms. Some of the hidden factors in his cells were stimulated. His hands did not seem to belong to him. 10 minutes. Half an hour. A full 2 hours passed. The pain gradually subsided. Lin Feng's face was pale. The sweat on his body had been sucked dry. His breathing was rapid, but his arms had changed drastically. They were like steel that had been tempered thousands of times. They were condensed with a strong, explosive power. Boom! Lin Feng punched out fiercely. The space shook violently. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. His heart was shocked. This is Chapter 206. Thunder and Lightning. It was very subtle, but it was the real power of thunder and lightning. It was very similar to the power of thunder and lightning contained in the Thunder and Lightning Pearl. It was strange and strange. The strength of the energy was naturally far inferior, but the form was very similar. Bang! Lin Feng instantly threw out another punch. The powerful force was also mixed with the power of thunder and lightning, causing Lin Feng's heart to beat wildly. It was real. From the introduction of the Crouching Eagle Thunder Vein, it is reasonable to say that it is just a simple increase in strength, without the power of thunder and lightning. Lin Feng thought to himself. Obviously, there was a strange change in his body. But no matter what, it was a real increase in strength. It is most likely because of the 3 thunderbolts. Lin Feng instantly judged. He had always felt that his cells seemed to contain the power of thunder and lightning. He thought it was an illusion, but it was not. This is an unexpected gain. My strength has also increased by about 30%. Lin Feng smiled. His face was pale, his heart was beating fast, and there was a trace of excitement. This was an increase in combat strength. After a short rest, soon, Lin Feng took out a magnificent Ganoderma lucidum. It was colorful, as beautiful as a painting, and it emitted a shocking amount of energy. The heaven-grade treasure was only a hair's breadth away from a sage-grade treasure. Lin Feng smelled the fragrance of the Earth 5 color Ganoderma lucidum. He immediately ate it, closed his eyes, and sat cross-legged. The energy of the planet flowed into his body. Lin Feng's eyes were clear. The Earth 5-colored Ganoderma lucidum turned into rays of colorful light and entered his dantian, being absorbed by the Earth Soul. A strange change instantly occurred. The surface of the Earth Soul was originally golden, but now there were rays of colorful light like rainbows. Even the 12 golden threads had a spiral pattern of 5 colors. Beautiful, magnificent. Of course, it was not just the color change. The absorption of spiritual energy was like a torrential river, continuous and endless. Lin Feng was shocked. It was originally a small stream, but now the amount of spiritual energy it absorbed increased by more than 10 times. The multicolored light emitted a dazzling light, and the soul of the earth seemed to have taken a stimulant, crazily absorbing it. His innate talent soul was completely inferior. 10 times. Efficiency. Lin Feng did not hesitate. Calming his mind, he activated the 5th layer of the 9-dragon scripture and entered the state of cultivation. Although he still had many earth treasures that could strengthen the spirit of the earth, he still had many earth treasures with him. However, compared to the heaven treasure level Earth 5 colors Ganoderma, it was not worth mentioning at all. This was a true treasure of heaven and earth. He cultivated like crazy. Lin Feng's strength increased rapidly. Brain expanse, soul of the earth, and soul of the innate talent. Compared to the pyramid in the imperial mausoleum of the Qin Emperor, the ever-changing technology of the Elemental Merchant Alliance was stronger and weaker. The artificial pyramid was built by the Elemental Merchant Alliance at a cost of 10 billion yuan in 10 years. It was quite powerful. For a Sea King rank powerhouse, their cultivation speed might be mediocre. But to a savage-level expert, right now, it was like sitting on a rocket. In particular, Lin Feng had the help of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum, not counting the soul of the innate talent and spiritual energy. Just the cultivation of the soul of the earth alone allowed Lin Feng's strength to increase again and again. 10 times the cultivation speed in less than 5 days. Lin Feng crossed the intermediate savage level. At this time, the radiance of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum had only dimmed by a third. He quietly crossed the 6th of January. Lin Feng did not pay attention to the birth of the 8th lightning ball. He completely entered a state of seclusion, grasping the remaining enhancement effect of the 5 colors Ganoderma lucidum. From 10 times the cultivation speed to 8 times, 5 times, 3 times. Now there was less than 2 times left. However, Lin Feng had made full use of every minute and second, until, the last ray of light flashed, and the multicolored lines disappeared. The stimulating effect of the soul of the earth returned to its original state. The original golden and transparent cocoon had already expanded by many times, and its proportion exceeded 9% of the Dantian size. This meant that the fourth stage of cultivation was 90% completed. There was no time for cultivation. On the night of the 31st of January, Lin Feng returned home. Spending the last night of the year with his mother and sister, his tense body slightly relaxed. Although he could not go to the floating elemental island to visit Ling Er, he could see Ling Er's sweet and happy smile from the micro-video projection. No matter how far away they were, their hearts were still tightly connected. Ali, Tao Jing, Yu Jie, Photon Ko, Sister Bing, Lin Feng contacted everyone. No matter what his current status was, in Lin Feng's heart, he was still his former self. Feelings were never forgotten. The Jiayang Battle Plaza should be very lively now. Lin Feng smiled. Yes, I really want to go and count down together. Yu Er held her chin with her hand, her eyes full of longing. Lin Feng stood on the open-air balcony. Looking into the distance, Elemental City was very calm as ever. A peaceful life without worries. There were few emotions in Elemental City, and there were urgent needs because everything here did not require money. It was like a paradise. Most of the time, after gaining something, one would lose something else. Actually, I don't like such peaceful days, Lin Feng said softly. Of course. Yu chuckled and said, You're the same as Big Brother. Dad's blood flows in your body. As long as you live, you will never stop challenging. Lin Feng smiled. However, there was a different emotion in his smile. Big Brother, wait a little longer. Soon, I will save you. Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a bright light. On the crystal watch, 10 years had passed, and he had officially entered the 103rd year of the War Martial Era. Last year, he was about to graduate from the Jiayang District's Elementary Genetic Academy. He carried the title of a 10th grade genius and was trapped in the mystery of his mind expanse regression. Now, Lin Feng knew everything. Back then, when he crossed the critical line, his spirit of earth and spirit of innate talent awakened at the same time. The huge pressure crushed him, and he could not bear it. When he crossed the critical line and awakened either the spirit of earth or spirit of innate talent, his body was already at its limit. When the two awakened at the same time, it was like a scale. The left side was his body, and the right side had the spirit of earth. They were equal, but there was an additional spirit of innate talent. Bang! After that, the spirit of earth and spirit of innate talent competed, causing his mind expanse to continue declining. It was only when the spirit of innate talent fainted that the spirit of earth took over. The stronger the spirit of innate talent, the earlier the spirit of innate talent was awakened. Big Brother, look, there are shooting stars. Yu was overjoyed. She hugged her fists and closed her eyes to make a wish. Lin Feng smiled. In the sky, the shooting stars were shining brightly. One after another, they were as beautiful as fireworks. Looking at the shooting stars, Lin Feng was surprised. More and more shooting stars streaked across the sky, gradually lighting up the darkness. At this moment, the sirens in Elemental City rang. Sizzle, sizzle. Tibetan-grade radiance appeared. Hua, a heavenly net appeared, covering the sky of Elemental City in an instant. Tibetan-grade defense, Tibetan-grade Skynet. Chapter 207. The meteor fireworks lit up the night sky. But what accompanied the meteor was an astonishingly huge group of meteorites. Boom, boom. Lin Feng hugged his trembling sister tightly and looked up at the sky. Hundreds of meteorites of all sizes streaked across the sky. The ear-piercing sound was accompanied by a heavy pressure that was deafening. The originally beautiful scene turned into a nightmare in an instant. It was frightening. Pong! The explosion roared. The violent earthquake shook the entire Elemental City. The originally quiet Elemental City became extremely noisy and panicked. The arrival of the natural disaster shook the earth and the sky. Brother, Yu was scared. Don't worry, it's okay. Lin Feng pressed his sister's small head against his chest and hugged her small body tightly. His lips were tightly pursed. Ling Er's figure appeared in his heart. He was worried about her. He didn't know how she was now. Did the floating elemental island also have a disaster? At this moment, boom, an extreme pressure came. Lin Feng raised his head and opened his eyes wide. In the sky, the 1-inch light spot fell at an astonishing speed. It kept getting bigger and bigger, highlighting the rugged surface and black molten shell. It appeared without any warning, bringing destruction and disaster with it. Looking at the huge meteorite falling from the sky, Lin Feng's veins bulged. Pa! Pa! His muscles bulged, and a violent force emerged. Titanium grade body. The black dragon saber in his hand was full of fighting spirit. Lin Feng's eyes were firm and free. Punk! The terrifying impact directly hit the titanium grade Skynet. The semicircular titanium grade Skynet emitted a strong magnetic sound and flickered violently. The titanium grade light dimmed. It changed rapidly. Everyone in Elemental City looked at the sky in horror. They saw the huge meteorite shatter into pieces and slide down from the titanium grade Skynet. It was blocked. The SSS grade super defense could block the titanium grade Skynet of a Destiny-level monster and block the power of the meteorite. Swoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. His body surged. The titanium grade light emerged with a tyrannical power. In that moment, he had made all the preparations to fight against the huge meteorite. In the past, this was something unimaginable, but now, I can. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. The impact of the meteorite just now, it was roughly equivalent to an all-out attack from a high-level Sea King. He was confident that he could shatter it. The phenomenon lasted for a full 5 minutes. However, the unforgettable memories that came with it could not be erased even after 5 months. On this night, everyone who witnessed the meteorite falling from the sky would find it hard to sleep. Emergency S-level meeting. Level 1 disaster grade meteorite. Suko activated his superbrain. A video projection appeared. Yi Fan, Yin Qing, Gu Demo, and Xiao Ruffeng were all present as they stared at the screen with furrowed brows. Lin Feng's eyes were like torches. The projection showed hundreds of light spots, densely concentrated in the southeastern region of Huaxia. In other words, at the location of Elemental City. The area was very large, but fortunately, other than Elemental City, this area was completely barren. A coincidence? Yin Qing asked. I don't know for now. Suka's expression was solemn. But this is the history of the war era. The first disaster-level meteorite. Lin Feng nodded. Meteorites from outer space were terrifying. The destructive power of meteorites was divided into normal, disaster level, annihilation level, and extinction level. Among them, disaster-level meteorites reached SS level. That was the power of a Sea King attack. Level 1 did not refer to the power. It referred to the number of meteorites and the area they covered. I hope it's not a sign. Gu Demo sighed. It shouldn't be. Xiao Ruffeng shook his head. It's only been 102 years since the 6th extinction. How can it be a sign? Normal meteorites falling from the sky often appear. It happens once in a while, and it's only level 1. It should be a coincidence. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. Extinction. There have been 6 extinctions on Earth so far. The temperature dropped sharply, and volcanoes erupted. These were all recorded extinctions. The 5th extinction of the dinosaur era had been confirmed. An asteroid with a diameter of 9 kilometers from the asteroid belt broke off its orbit for unknown reasons and crashed into Earth. The violent impact destroyed everything within a radius of tens of kilometers, causing a large-scale tsunami. Not only that, the huge vibration caused by the impact cracked the Earth's crust and triggered volcanic activity. 10,000 years later, the rising temperature caused the polar glaciers to melt rapidly. 100,000 years later, due to the heat from the volcanoes, the Earth's temperature dropped sharply. 180,000 years later, a huge crack appeared in the Pacific Ocean's crust and magma gushed out, the butterfly effect. The culprit was that asteroid, the extinction-level meteorite. The 6th extinction was even more cruel than the 5th. Rounds of super meteorite bombardment covered the 7 continents and 4 corners of the oceans, destroying almost everything. In terms of power, It was even more powerful than the fifth extinction. The difference was humans were much smarter than dinosaurs. Even so, meteorites had left an indelible shadow in the hearts of humans. A sign of the seventh extinction. Lin Feng agreed with Alliance leader Xia's words. It had only been 102 years. There was no reason for meteorites to fall again. Let's wait and see. Suka nodded. Suddenly, he smiled. No matter what, maybe we can profit from this disaster and have a great harvest. Everyone smiled. Meteorites hit a huge amount of energy. They came from outer space, from the universe. Although the sixth great extinction had caused great damage to mankind and Earth, it had also changed the ecological environment of Earth. Once again, it was filled with spirit chi and entered a new era. There were many elements, metals, and other substances that Earth did not have in the meteorites. For example, the most important element technology in the man-made pyramid came from a huge meteorite during the sixth extinction. The scientists of the Elemental Commerce Alliance were full of enthusiasm. Meteorites were transported back to Elemental City. The entire central city was in full swing. The scientists were very curious and explored unknown substances. Lin Feng was relieved. Although it was a false alarm, it left a deep impression in his heart. The huge meteorite that hit the titanium-level Skynet was still deeply imprinted in his mind. In fact, the disaster was not irreversible. Humans can beat the heavens. I'm not afraid of a disaster-level meteorite now. An annihilation level, a legend-level expert can take it head-on. Even if it's an annihilation level, if human strength can break through the legend level one day, we can still survive. Click. The motorized corridor stopped. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He entered the man-made pyramid again. The gears of time came to the 103rd year of the war martial era. It was January 8th. There were only 7 days left. The fourth stage of the Earth Soul, the last 10%. Lin Feng sat cross-legged on the fourth level of the pyramid. The rolling planet energy entered his body. Lin Feng was full of fighting spirit. The final sprint. Chapter 208. Middle grade, Earth Treasure, True Extreme, Thunderous Water. High grade, Earth Treasure, Purple Hero 6 Rin, Sprout Crystal. Supreme grade, Earth Treasure, Red Refinement Saltpeter. Bitter. After chewing for a while, Lin Feng swallowed another Earth Treasure. 20 million gold coins vanished in the blink of an eye. The powerful Earth Treasure merged with Lin Feng's body. In a split second, the soul of the Earth was burning inside his body. Lin Feng activated the fifth level of the scripture of 9 dragons. The scorching energy absorbed the energy extremely quickly, and his cultivation speed increased instantly. In just 6 days, to Lin Feng, it was like a 100-meter sprint. He was rich and willful. In 6 days, he swallowed more than 10 Earth treasures to supplement his cultivation. Although it didn't have a miraculous effect like the Earth Pentacolored Spirit, it still allowed Lin Feng's cultivation speed to increase steadily. Although his mind expanse was still a distance away from 50%, the soul of the Earth was close to saturation. The golden cocoon. In his dantian, it was swelling and shining with golden light. It was about to transform. The second stalk. The third stalk. It continuously catalyzed and absorbed. As one Earth treasure after another entered his stomach, coupled with the crazy stimulation of the planet's energy, Lin Feng finally reached his limit. He reached his limit. Whoosh! The golden cocoon shone brightly in an instant. Like a silkworm breaking out of its cocoon, the golden light illuminated its entire body and penetrated in all directions. As the cocoon burst open, the energy aura turned into thin lines that resembled meridians, connecting the entire dantian. The original 12 golden lines split into 2, then from 2 to 4, extending like branches and dividing cells. 24 lines, 36 lines hiss. Hiss. Powerful spiritual energy spread from the thin golden lines to the meridians all over his body. It nourished his body, strengthened his cells, meridians, and bones. Even his brain had wisps of cool energy flowing in, opening up new territory and expanding his mind expanse. It was like watering a dried-up paddy field. Lin Feng had been waiting for this moment for a long time. With a natural breakthrough, the soul of the earth officially entered the 5th stage. His body was also strengthened to another level. This seclusion was perfect. Soul of the earth, 5th stage. Titanium gray body, 1st stage. True strength level. Savage intermediate. My body is almost done absorbing. On the 7th day, Lin Feng did not continue to cultivate. Instead, he chose to hone his saber skills. He practiced the flaming saber technique over and over again with high technology. Level 5 saber technique. Lin Feng had already mastered the first 3 moves of the flaming saber technique. The only thing he lacked was a single point. It was a perfect entry point. As for the 4th and 5th moves, he had just entered the proficient level. It was still too early for him to fully comprehend them. Lightning flint, accumulating firewood to build a fire. Flaming tree, silver flower. 24 hours of saber practice. To Lin Feng, he needed to have perfect control over his strength. His body needed time to adapt to the sudden increase in strength, and he also needed time to absorb the 5th stage of spirit chi infusion. In addition, he had not practiced with the saber for more than a month. Lin Feng felt that his sense of the saber had become rusty. I can still feel the saber. It's just that I'm still unable to control my power too precisely. Erupt with a titanium gray body. Based on my physical fitness and strength alone, I should be close to the limit of a Sea King. Lin Feng made a clear judgment. His strongest point was his strength. His current physical strength could reach a high-level Sea King after erupting with a titanium gray body. His strength was already the strongest. With the enhancement of the Crouching Eagle Thunder Network and the power of thunder and lightning, his attack power was definitely one of the best among the Sea Kings. The only thing he lacked was speed. However, with the spirit chi to control the flying sword, it could make up for it. Before leaving, find a good flying sword. Lin Feng left the Neo martial arts space. He was still using Jian Chao's flying sword. It was definitely the best in the Yi family, but in the Elemental Business Alliance, it was better than this. Too much. Problems that could be solved with money were not problems. Supplement it with the best saber, Geno armor, and boots. Match it with the best flying sword. Lin Feng's eyes were bright. He was confident that he could compete with other Sea King level powerhouses. He was now a completely different person from a month ago. On the night of January 7th, all the Business Alliance leaders gathered together. The matter of Brahmin Manla. It did not arouse the suspicion of the Brahmin sect. Su Ke's eyes were shining. Everyone was relieved. Lin Feng nodded. In the past month, the elites of the Business Alliance had been living in seclusion. Plus, it was normal for the Sea Kings to be in seclusion for a year or so. Manla's sudden disappearance did not arouse suspicion. Even so, this was still good news. Although the time bomb was still buried, if it exploded a little later, he would have more bargaining chips and strength. For example, now, the Business Alliance had been well prepared. Manla is really unlucky. Island Master Jiang squinted his eyes and smiled. Now that he is dead, our merchant union is instantly revived. 3 merchant union chiefs in a month. That's great. Everyone laughed heartily. On January 3rd, when Han Fei was about to use up the energy of the Thunderball, he luckily broke through the limit and became the Business Alliance leader. Han Fei, thank you, Alliance leader Lin Shang. With black hair and black eyes, Han Fei was usually frivolous, but he clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. He stood up and bowed deeply to Lin Feng. If it wasn't for Lin Feng's lightning pearl, if it wasn't for Lin Feng and Yifan's support, it would absolutely be impossible for him to have his current accomplishments. Brother Han, you're too kind. Lin Feng smiled. With 3 Business Alliance leaders, the Elemental Business Alliance instantly rose from the bottom among the 5 giants of ancient Huaxia. 3rd place. This treasure hunt will definitely surprise the other forces. Yifan's eyes were shining. Lin Feng was also more confident. Yifan's strength was already comparable to a beginner Sea King when he was at the advanced level of the Savage Land. Han Fei's talent spirit had reached the 5th stage, which was rare among the Sea Kings. Together with him, it's time for the business alliance to regain its reputation. Lin Feng smiled. Well said. That's right. This time, we must trample Dragon Killing Island. Everyone had been waiting for too long. In the genetic technology building. Sorry, Brother Lin. Han Fei's eyes were shining. We don't know much about Brother Lin's strength, and so do you. Yi Fan smiled. If we want to fight side by side, we must at least know each other's strength. Only then can we work together. Actual combat is the best way to understand each other. Let's begin. Lin Feng nodded and smiled. Then, he walked to one of the doors in the battle arena and entered the virtual arena. The strong had their own pride. Yi Fan and Han Fei both had outstanding aptitudes and talents. The logic between the strong was very simple. They spoke with their fists. Half an hour later. Brother Lin, you're amazing. Yi Fan smiled bitterly. 2 against 1, and 3 against 3. Han Fei was a little dumbfounded. He and Yi Fan's cooperation was very good, and they complemented each other very well. However, in front of Lin Feng, they were defeated 3 times in a row and suffered a crushing defeat. Lin Feng smiled. There was no need to say too much. Brother Yi, Brother Han, let's set off at 6 tomorrow morning. Lin Feng looked at the two of them. Sure, no problem. Yi Fan and Han Fei nodded in agreement. Although the two of them were older than Lin Feng was their leader. They were convinced by the previous battle. See you tomorrow. Lin Feng nodded and left. Lin Feng clenched his fists. After more than a month of hard work, he had become stronger. He was no longer the same as before. Second update, to be continued. Chapter 209, January 8th. At the border of Mount Hua and Mount Zhonan, the military, the first bank of Huaxia, and the Dragon Killing Island were at the top. Even though Li Jixing had appeared out of nowhere and seized the 7th lightning pearl, the military still had a deep foundation. After seizing the 5th and 6th lightning pearls, a new marshal was born before the 8th lightning pearl appeared. The military had 4 marshals. They had as many Sea King level overlords as the true martial dojo. With the help of the Tai Chi dojo and the Liu's and Zhu families, 7 Sea King level overlords overpowered the first bank of Huaxia and the Dragon Killing Island to take the 8th Thunderbolt Pearl. However, the Dragon Killing Island and the first bank of Huaxia were not on good terms and fought for themselves. Now, the 9th Thunderbolt Pearl, the military was undoubtedly the most popular. At the temporary encampment of the Dragon Killing Island. Damn it! Zikui's eyes glinted and his voice was sharp. His slender fingers moved and 10 clear claw marks could be seen on the bronze armrest. As the young master of the Dragon Killing Island and one of the twin stars of Huaxia, Zikui was undoubtedly one of the most powerful Sea King level overlords. However, he was defeated again and again. He couldn't defeat the military or Li Jixing. Not to mention his luck, 4 Thunderbolt Pearls faced each other in a row. He failed every time. Demonic Lord, Clan Leader Chao, let's not gather again this time, Zikui said. The Demonic Lord's greenish-brown skin looked demonic. He was the clan leader of the Sky Devil sect, one of the 4 dojos and a mid-level Sea King level overlord. Xiang Shao was a middle-aged man with great experience. He was the clan leader of the Xiang clan, one of the 8 families, and a mid-level Sea King level overlord. The 3 of them were on the same side. They were even more powerful than the first bank of Huaxia. Take 3 points and form a triangle. We'll fight for ourselves, Xiang Shao said seriously. That's right. They've even used some bullsh *T combination attack strategy, but they still lost miserably. The demonic lord snorted and said, why don't we try our luck and see which side has the weakest defense? The other Sea King level overlords will stop us. Chao Shenwei frowned. He was the only Sea King level overlord left. He had Yi Sun, Chun Yujun, and other high-level savage overlord around him. Okay. Zikui's voice was soft needles. The one who gets half. The rest will be 1/6 each, the demon lord coldly said. Xiang Shao nodded. Yi Sun gritted his teeth and silently admitted that he was unlucky. With his status, he could go to the first bank of Huaxia and the Dragon Killing Island. However, he felt that Li Jixing did not have a strong desire to win and the dragon-killing island was indeed more powerful. Therefore, he joined the dragon-killing island. Who would have thought that Li Jixing would get the 7th Thunderbolt Pearl? He regretted it so much. It's all because of that damned Lin Feng. Yi Sun got angry just thinking about it. His son had been killed, Jian Chou had been killed, and the first lightning pearl was supposed to be his alone. At this moment, most likely, he had already become a Sea King level powerhouse. However, it was ruined by a kid who hadn't even grown his hair yet. Merchant Alliance leader. How did he become the head of the Merchant Alliance? Yi Sun still couldn't figure it out. He glared angrily. Is there no one else in the Elemental Merchant Alliance that they pushed a little guy to the peak? Perhaps he was trying to profit from the situation. It's all for the lightning pearl in Lin Feng's hands. Both sides are mutually beneficial. Let him have some fun for a while. When the fight for the holy treasure is over, we'll borrow the power of the dragon-killing island to get rid of this thorn in our side. Yi Sun's face was cold. Lin Feng probably didn't expect that he would be used by the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The dragon-killing island didn't want to offend the Brahmin sect, so they didn't kill Brahmin Manla. However, they killed a powerless little guy like him. I believe young island master Zi Kuei will be happy to do so. Swoosh! Red lightning flashed. A Sea King level fighter jet cut across the sky and landed. That's fast. Lin Feng jumped down from the fighter jet and exclaimed. This Sea King level fighter jet, Red Lightning, was specially made for him by the Elemental Merchant Alliance. The material alone cost more than 1 billion gold coins. Although it was not the most expensive fighter jet, it was one of the fastest. It's my first time riding it too. Yi Fan also jumped down. Behind him, Han Fei appeared like a phantom. The three of them had arrived. Swoosh! Lin Feng put away Red Lightning. Looking at the mountains and valleys around him, his heart instantly opened and his blood boiled. He was back. Brother Lin, are we going to fight for the 9th Thunder Pearl? Han Fei asked. Yi Fan was also eager to fight. He had been holding back for a long time after becoming a Sea King level overlord. No. Lin Feng traveled in the mountains and looked around calmly. The military, the dragon-killing island, and the First Bank of China. The 3 forces have gathered together, the 3 dojos, and the 8 families have become 3 giants. We're going to fight for. Our chances are slim. Yi Fan was slightly disappointed. Although he already knew the result, he still wanted to fight because he had a warlike blood flowing in his body. Lin Feng looked at Yi Fan's expression and smiled. Brother Yi, don't be disappointed. Although we're not fighting for the Thunder Pearl, it doesn't mean we don't have to fight. Yi Fan and Han Fei were stunned. You should know what it's like to fight for the Thunder Pearl. Lin Feng said slowly. Yi Fan and Han Fei's eyes flashed, and the scene appeared in front of them. The Sea King level overlords were fighting with all their might, and the other overlords were blocking the other overlords. Blood flowed like a river, and chaos ensued. They had fought with Brahmin Manla before. Heavy casualties. Yi Fan nodded. He vaguely understood. A fisherman? Han Fei smiled slyly. Lin Feng smiled and said, Fishermen who don't take advantage of others aren't good fishermen. Since we're here, we can't go back empty-handed. Lin Feng landed on a tall mountain. He could already see a large number of experts in the distance. The atmosphere was fiery. Let's take advantage of this chaos to weaken the enemy's power. Lin Feng was full of viciousness. Yi Fan and Han Fei looked at each other with a playful smile. The dragon-killing island doesn't know that we already have 3 Sea Kings. Han Fei chuckled. The previous 2 Alliance Masters of the Merchant Alliance were killed by Dragon Slaughter Island. Yi Fan's eyes were cold. The Elemental Business Alliance seems to be peaceful, but the dragon-killing island is focused on the Thunder Pearl. Once the fight for the sacred treasure is over, the competition will start again. Lin Feng nodded. He would not let go of the dragon-killing island no matter what. Instead of being controlled by others, it's better to strike first. Lin Feng took out 3 human skin masks and tossed them to Yi Fan and Han Fei. It's not easy to kill a savage-level overlord from the dragon-killing island. But now we can kill so many of them. Since we're going to fight, Brother Yi, Brother Han, don't show any mercy. Lin Feng looked back and smiled. Ha, of course not. Yi Fan and Han Fei laughed. Chapter 210. At the intersection of Taibai Mountain and Zhongnan Mountain, hundreds of savage-level elites had gathered. It was a hubbub of voices, an unprecedented scene. It was rare to see so many savage-level elites gathered in one place. Most of them were from the military, dragon-killing island, and China's first bank. Nearly half of the three magnates were at the savage level, and it was clear to see. There were 11 Sea King elites. The continuous battles would definitely result in casualties, especially for the military that had obtained the 3 lightning pearls. Of the 7 Sea Kings, only 4 were left. When they were fighting for the 8th Thunder Pearl, Zikue had severely injured 2 of them, including Martial Tai, June Dragon-Killing Island, had 4 Sea King-level martial artists who had preserved their strength the best. China's first bank only had 3, making it the weakest. Swoosh! Lin Feng and Yi Fan exchanged glances before the 2 of them instantly separated. The scientists had already calculated where the 9th Thunder Pearl would appear. The area was only a few thousand square meters. The 11 Sea King elites were in the center, constantly changing their positions to confuse their opponents and look for a good opportunity. "Go away," he shouted with an unfriendly face. Lin Feng frowned. It was a man less than 6 feet tall. His cold eyes flashed, and the Geno armor on his chest had the symbol of Dragon-Killing Island. The short man held the samurai sword in his hand, murderous as he mumbled in an unknown language. Lin Feng did not say anything. He took a few steps back and left. There are very few independent elites. Lin Feng was at the outermost circle. He could clearly see that almost 10 out of 10 savage-level elites had symbols on them. They were either from the 8 big families or the 3 dojos. Most of them were from the 3 military leaders. Lin Feng understood what was going on. Apart from the 3 military leaders, there were no other forces fighting for the Thunder Pearl. As for the other forces, they had already been excluded. 1 circle inside, 1 circle outside. The positions of the various forces were changing. They are scattered. Without making a sound, Lin Feng circled around the outermost area in a short while. According to the intelligence, the main combatants of the Dragon-Killing Island are Zi Kuei, the demonic monarch, and Xiang Shao. To them, it is the best plan. The Dragon-Killing Island had a terrible reputation. The military and the first bank of Huaxia would not fight to the death. However, when it came to Dragon Murder Island, he wasn't polite at all. Even the Heavenly Devil sect, one of the 3 major dojo, and the Xiang clan, one of the 8 great clans, had bad reputations. It could be said that they were jackals of the same tribe, birds of a feather flocking together. The Dragon-Killing Island gathered their forces and captured them in one go. He might as well try his luck. Perhaps he could take advantage of the chaos to snatch it. After all, other than Zikue, the demonic lord was also very strong. Disperse. Killing them will be much faster. Lin Feng smiled inwardly. To him, it did not make much of a difference. However, to Yi Fan and Han Fei, there were too many savage-level experts on the Dragon-Killing Island. It would be troublesome for the 2 of them to launch a sneak attack. Now, he was dealing with them one by one. Although it seemed slow, it was actually more efficient and less likely to be exposed. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes flashed coldly. Up ahead, it was a man in a red battle suit with dragon patterns swirling around his body. Behind him was the image of a faceless Yama King. Yi Sun. Lin Feng clenched his right fist. Yi Sun, the enemy who had tried to kill him time and time again. He didn't even care about his reputation and sent savage-level experts to infiltrate the Sunset Martial Arts Club. If he hadn't moved his mother and sister away, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Thinking of this, Lin Feng's eyes flashed fiercely. When he was on Mount Hua, he couldn't wait to turn Yi Sun into ashes, but he wasn't strong enough. But now he had to kill him. Consider yourself unlucky. Lin Feng's murderous intent surged. Time passed. The sky gradually turned to dusk. The earthquake has weakened. Lin Feng's senses were very clear. He could even detect a weak earthquake. Every time this happened, it meant that the Thunderbolt Pearl was about to appear. He looked over and saw the 11 Sea King level experts in the innermost circle. They also looked serious. They waited patiently. Every second was very slow at this moment. The experts displayed their strength and circled around in circles, their faces filled with nervousness. Whoosh! The originally bright sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. It was getting darker and darker. It's coming. Lin Feng was very calm. Unlike the others, he had been locking onto Yi Sun's location. The Thunderbolt Pearl was never Lin Feng's target. In fact, whether it was him or the Elemental Business Alliance, they didn't need the Thunderbolt Pearl that urgently. Boom! Boom! Thunder boomed, shaking the heavens and earth. It seems that the commotion is even greater than the fourth one. Lin Feng compared. The whole sky was pitch black. In a split second, a beam of light appeared like fireworks and shot into the sky. The corners of Lin Feng's mouth curled up into an arc. The lightning beads lit up the night sky, igniting the battle that was about to begin. The 11 Sea King level experts almost simultaneously, boom, boom, boom. The scene was in a perilous situation. They weren't the only ones. Like a domino effect, the rest of the savage level experts also burst out with thunderous roars. Spiritual energy and genetic energy exploded wildly. The sky turned dark and the earth was in a mess. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two sharp arrows pierced through. Yi Fan and Han Fei took advantage of the situation and entered the chaotic battle. With the strength of a Sea King, they were at ease in this battle of savage-level experts. Little Fish Swim. Lin Feng also entered. The Wisdom King Step, which specialized in attacking, was not as good as Little Fish Swim, which specialized in dodging. In the crowd, Lin Feng was like a little fish swimming around casually. Although he didn't use his titanium gray body, his strength was already strong enough. Among the savage-level experts, he was definitely a crane in a flock of chickens. Revenge! Lin Feng drew his sword so quickly that no one could see it clearly. Chi! Chi! Blood splattered. The moment he killed the dragon-killing island expert, Lin Feng's figure disappeared. The savage-level experts of the dragon-killing island fell one by one with their eyes wide open. They didn't know what had happened until they died. They had set up a strong enough defense, but death still came suddenly. The short man with the katana, looked at Lin Feng in horror. Puff! Blood spurted out. In a flash of light, there was another corpse. Lin Feng wouldn't go easy on the dragon-killing island. His hatred for the dragon-killing island was even greater than that of the Yi family. His killing intent exploded. Lin Feng soon saw Yi Sun's figure. Boundless mysterious art, level 3. Yi Sun stood alone against 10,000 enemies. A hideous, faceless king of hell appeared behind him. His heaven-class fist technique, Boundless King of Hell Fist, had reached the pinnacle of level 4. The first two moves were at the perfect level. Yi Sun was able to fend off countless military experts alone. Although he was only at the advanced savage level, he was comparable to a beginner Sea King. Very strong. Yi Sun looked proud. In the past 2 months, his strength had increased significantly. The only thing he lacked was a breakthrough in his fist technique. At this moment, he could feel it clearly. That's the feeling. Great. Yi Sun's eyes lit up. Spiritual chi exploded continuously. The breakthrough before the battle made him happy. The strength of each punch was increasing rapidly. He felt that he had officially become a Sea King. Chapter 211. At this moment, a figure approached Yi Sun slowly and quickly. Within a few breaths, the figure appeared in front of him, bringing with it the power of thunder and lightning. Yi Sun's expression changed when he heard the tiger's roar. In an instant, he was trapped in this terrifying space. The figure in front of him was very familiar. His height, build, and aura, Lin Feng. Yi Sun's eyes were bloodshot, and he was extremely shocked. Unbelievable. Yi Sun clenched his teeth. He would never be wrong. Spiritual energy was released crazily from his body, and the third level of the heaven-ranked boundless mystic art was instantly pushed to the extreme. The strongest move of the heaven-ranked fist art, Boundless Yama Fist, was mastered in this moment of life and death. It was supplemented by the 5th level of the fist art, Boundless #Annihilation. Yi Sun smiled crazily. The sudden increase in strength made him very confident. His attack power was more than 10 times stronger than before. But die. Lin Feng's voice was like a still shadow. The terrifying pressure, along with the power of thunder and lightning and the power of titanium, came crashing down like an unstoppable mountain. The terrifying power was earth-shattering. Yi Sun's eyes widened in shock. Before he died, he seemed to see the familiar face under the human skin mask. In an instant, boom! Thunder and lightning mixed with the power of fire annihilated Yi Sun's consciousness. It was a huge shock. Yi Sun's position was extremely close to the center. Although there were many savage levels, there were very few who were as strong as Yi Sun. His death caused a huge shock. Lin Feng didn't stay. His body was like a small fish as he entered the crowd again. He had succeeded and retreated. At this moment, the fight for the 9th lightning bead had reached its climax. The energy was violent, and the lightning beads were constantly being struck in the sky. The Justice Marshal, Li Jixing, and Zi Kuei were tightly entangled. The rest of the Sea Kings were scrambling to jump. They tried to snatch the lightning bead, but the closer they got, the more they became targets. Boom! Another wave of energy exploded. The Thunderbolt Pearl was blasted away, causing the savage grade martial artist to cry out in shock. The Sea King grade martial artist rushed over. Huh! Lin Feng was stunned. Using the small fish swimming body technique, he shuttled through the crowd and left. However, he saw a shining bead of light draw an arc in the air and mysteriously appear in front of him. Lin Feng was slightly surprised and instantly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't intend to seize the lightning pearl and only wanted to leave quietly. He had already completed his mission perfectly. Who would have thought? A heavenly treasure fell from the sky. When luck comes, there's no stopping it. Lin Feng smiled. Even though he was not as close to the lightning pearl as the other savage level experts, he was still much closer to it than the other Sea King level experts. The lightning pearl was right in front of him. If he didn't even take it, it would be a bit of waste. Shen Yuan, Lin Feng leaped up. In an instant whoosh, a thin, bird-shaped metal alloy flashed and flashed with white light. It was not a flying sword, which was good at attacking. Shen Yuan was the king of speed. Lin Feng, who had just leaped onto the divine kite, instantly shot forward with a xiao. Behind him, the expressions of the Sea King class powerhouses changed. Zi Kuei, who was in the middle of a fight, was furious. His face was flushed red, and he used the sunflower manual to its limit. The silver needle pierced through the air. It's mine! In front of Lin Feng, a lucky savage level expert's eyes lit up. He caught up with the lightning pearl just in time. However, in the air, the lightning pearl strangely stopped, as if it was caught by a pair of invisible hands. Spiritual power. Whoosh! Lin Feng streaked across the air, leaving behind an afterimage. He disappeared in an instant. The savage level expert stretched out his hand blankly. At this moment, there was no trace of the lightning pearl. Bang! The silver needle shot out and pierced through his head. A hysterical, feminine shout sounded in the air. Zi Kuei shot forward, followed by a group of Sea King class experts. It was a mess. Just now, was that Lin Feng? Yifan opened his mouth, shocked and pleasantly surprised. Han Fei revealed a playful smile. His body was like a flash of lightning, blending into the crowd. Suddenly, there was a bloody light in his hand. What a fast speed! Lin Feng's brows furrowed as he flew. He could clearly feel the 3 figures behind him chasing closely. Without a doubt, they were Zi Kuei, Li Jixing, and Martial Justice. The fastest was Zi Kuei. There were very few Sea King class experts who had awakened their talent spirits. They also had flying swords, level 1 Divine Kite, and level 1 Tiger Roaring Saber. Lin Feng came out of the Elemental Business Alliance with a full set of top-tier items. He had even changed into level 1 Geno armor combat boots and a sacred scale armor. He was fully armed. His flying speed is above mine. Lin Feng was very clear. After all, Zi Kuei was the young master of Dragon Killing Island. The quality of his flying sword would not be bad. With the 5th stage of his talent spirit, his flying speed was indeed not as fast as his. But whoosh! Lin Feng's eyes flashed. Right now, he was not really afraid of Zikuei. He was afraid of Li Jixing and martial justice. If it was one-on-one, he could compete with Zikuei. But once Li Jixing and martial justice joined in, the situation would become very complicated. Moreover, there were 8 other Sea King-class experts behind them. As this thought flashed through his mind, there was a sound behind him. Zikuei had already appeared in his field of vision. "Where do you think you're going?" Zikuei screamed. "Run?" Lin Feng made a decision instantly. "Titanium grade body." Lin Feng shouted. Crack! Patter! His muscles bulged as a violent force gushed out from his body. Lin Feng's eyes were cold and bright. He had a deep hatred for Dragon Killing Island. Although he was being chased, it was actually a great opportunity, because Zikuei did not know his true strength. Whoosh! Lin Feng turned around abruptly. The divine kite stopped at 180 degrees. It was indeed the highest quality level one. Blazing thunder. Lin Feng's tiger-roaring saber exploded instantly. In the 5th level of saber techniques, the flaming saber was at its strongest. With the strengthening of the titanium-grade body, Zikuei did not need to use the super-heavy titanium domain. Instead, his momentum would increase the power of his attacks. Behind Lin Feng, 5 giant dragons suddenly appeared, and a scorching sun rose. 9 Dragon Scripture! Zikuei screamed. His expression changed. Swish! 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 The embroidery silver needle flew out quickly. Zikuei's spiritual power was fully unleashed. Although the needle was small, its power was not to be underestimated. However, before he could slow down, the saber radiance appeared. The needle's power was less than 50%. Zikuei gritted his teeth. The threat of death came. Boom! Lin Feng's saber was too terrifying. The infinite power broke through the spiritual power silver needle. Zikuei's face turned pale. The saber energy was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, about to cut him. No! Zikuei screamed. A light appeared on his neck. Holy treasure, black tortoise seal. Clang! A golden chi seal condensed into the image of a black tortoise. Bang! The terrifying force made Lin Feng and Zikuei's bodies shake violently. They flew backward. Zikuei's black tortoise seal dimmed and disappeared. Every time he used it, his sacred power would be consumed. Although he was not injured, his spiritual power was broken. Coupled with the force of the saber energy, Zikuei was injured. 9 Dragon Scripture. Level 5 9 Dragon Scripture is the descendant of the Ji family that father has been looking for. Zikuei's eyes lit up.